Welcome to NTD News Today.
Here are today's top stories.
7 jurors were selected on the second day of former President Trump's so-called hush money trial. We have some key takeaways.
The U.S. set to impose new sanctions on Iran after the weekend attack on Israel. And Israel's foreign minister declares a diplomatic counteroffensive alongside Israel's military response.
Google employees join Gaza protesters in California, Seattle, and New York. They demand the tech giant end its cloud contract with Israel. The deal, named Project Nimbus, is sparking workplace controversy.
Columbia University will face questions today from House Republicans over its treatment of anti-Semitism on campus. It will be the 4th big school to do so.
Boeing safety in the spotlight in back-to-back Senate hearings. And one of them, a Boeing whistleblower, says a fatal flaw in a Boeing jet could cause it to break apart mid-air. Claims that Boeing denies. More on the allegations and testimony before Congress today.
Military whistleblowers are challenging claims made in the official January 6th report. We'll bring you what they're telling the House of Representatives.
This is NTD News Today, live from our NTD Global Headquarters. Here are Stephania Cox and Chris Beers.
The judge in former President Trump's so-called hush money trial said opening statements could begin as soon as next Monday.
7 jurors were seated on day 2 of the historic trial in Manhattan on Tuesday.
The 7 include an oncology nurse, a corporate lawyer, and an English teacher.
Before they were seated, jurors went through the questionnaire phase by the district attorney's office and Trump's lawyers.
An attorney for the former president challenged several prospective jurors, calling for some to be dismissed due to past social media posts.
Both the prosecution and defense have 10 peremptory strikes to remove a juror from the pool. So far, each side has used 6 preemptive strikes, so both have only 4 strikes left.
Court will not be in session today. The next group of 96 potential jurors was sworn in on Tuesday and dismissed until tomorrow morning. Here's a recap of yesterday's jury selection.
Donald Trump's defense lawyers and New York prosecutors on Tuesday took turns challenging prospective jurors who may serve on the former president's hush money criminal trial. Trump, who is once again seeking the White House, is the first ex-president to ever stand trial on criminal charges. He was rebuked on Tuesday by New York Justice Juan Merchan for speaking while one potential juror was being questioned. The judge told Trump's lawyer, quote, "I will not have any jurors intimidated in this courtroom." Trump faces 34 felony counts of falsifying business records to cover up a payment to Stormy Daniels shortly before the 2016 election. Trump has pleaded not guilty and denies the alleged affair. Lawyers need to pick 12 members of the jury and 6 alternates.
Hilariously, yesterday walking in, my first thought when I saw him was, oh, he looks exactly like he does on TV.
Kara McGee didn't make the cut. She said the commitment to a trial that could run for weeks or longer was too much for her schedule, though she felt she and her fellow potential jurors were taking the process seriously.
I think regardless of what people came into it thinking about the defendant, there were other people as well in the jury box who answered the questions honestly and said, like, yes, I have family members who have been involved with X political thing. I have X opinion about something on this jury sheet, but I believe that I can put that aside and be unbiased.
Trump, a Republican, has called the case a partisan witch hunt brought by Democratic Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, meant to interfere with his campaign to unseat President Joe Biden, a Democrat, in the November 5th election.
I should be right now in Pennsylvania, in Florida, in many other states, North Carolina, Georgia, campaigning. This is all coming from the Biden White House because the guy can't put 2 sentences together. He can't campaign. They're using this in order to try and win an election, and it's not working that way. It's working the opposite way.
The trial is scheduled to last at least through May.
And Trump made a campaign stop at a bodega in Manhattan after court yesterday. It was the site of a violent stabbing attack. Trump aide said he chose the convenience store because it highlights public criticism against Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. Supporters chanting 4 more years greeted Trump. The presumptive GOP nominee compared his prosecution to what happens on New York streets.
Trump accused the DA of letting criminals go free. He said if Bragg wants law and order, he should stop the crime affecting New York businesses. Bragg's office reacted by stating the Bodega case was resolved almost 2 years ago, with charges against the clerk dismissed after a thorough investigation.
Trump is set to meet for dinner with Polish President Andrzej Duda today in New York. Here's Trump at the Bodega yesterday on his idea of an ideal juror.
Anybody that's fair.
Do you believe the jury seated today?
I'll let you know after the trial. There shouldn't be a gag order. Let me just tell you. The gag order is totally unconstitutional. The judge should not be there. The judge is highly conflicted. He should not be there.
Donald Trump is the first former president in U.S. history to go on trial for criminal charges, but a new poll by AP and the Nork Center for Public Affairs Research found only about 1/3 of U.S. adults think Trump committed a crime in the so-called hush money case. Around 1/3 of those surveyed said they thought Trump did something unethical but not illegal. 14% thought Trump did nothing wrong.
The poll also shows if Trump were to be convicted, half felt he would be unfit for office. 1/3 said he would be fit for office. And around 20% said they don't know enough to say.
Prosecutors accused Trump of falsifying business records to cover up payments to an adult film actress during the 2016 election cycle.
The new poll found about half of Americans think Trump did something illegal in the other 3 criminal cases against him. And 2 historic legal battles before the courts. At the moment, at least 2. Jury selection is underway in the New York Trump case, and in the U.S. Supreme Court, the conservative majority yesterday suggested it could toss out a charge currently applied to hundreds of people who were at the Capitol on the day of the January 6th breach. Joining us to break it all down is Gerard Filitti, a civil and human rights attorney and senior counsel at the Lawfare Project. Gerard, good to see you as always. The conservative Supreme Court justices say they're concerned about the way the government is trying to apply the law in these January 6 cases. Could you outline their concern and the response from the more liberal justices?
They're quite right to be concerned, because the provision that's at question is part of the Sarbanes-Oxley bill, which was passed after the Enron scandal nearly 2 decades ago. What it relates to is the destruction of corporate records, the tampering with evidence, if you will, in order to obstruct a government proceeding, in order to obstruct investigation of wrongdoing. It's a white-collar statute, essentially, that has been used by prosecutors to file criminal charges against people that have nothing to do with the underlying legislation that was passed, which deals with tampering with evidence. And January 6th was not about tampering with evidence.
And so what could all of this mean for the 350 or so people who are charged with obstructing an official proceeding for their actions at the Capitol that day?
What that could mean is that specific charge would likely have to be dropped if the Supreme Court says that it cannot be used for that purpose. So all of a sudden you will see many, many defendants who have one less charge to worry about, and people who have been convicted on that charge coming back into court to argue about whether that should be expunged, whether they should be they should have time served, credited for incarceration, all manner of issues. So this will really be a monumental decision that the Supreme Court comes down with.
And what's the argument back from the liberal justices?
The argument back from the liberal justices really goes to the gravity of January 6th. It's not so much the law itself. They think that the law can perhaps be used, but they're looking at extending the enforcement of this law beyond what it was intended for, simply because January 6th was such a monumental historic event that caused so much damage to America's reputation and to the administration of congressional proceedings. And how could their perspective basically is the seriousness.
Okay, so how could this decision here that the Supreme Court is making affect Trump?
It can affect Trump in the sense that if the Supreme Court invalidates the application of that provision, he will face fewer charges in the proceedings that that are brought by the special counsel Jack Smith. It does not mean that all of the charges against him go away, but he has fewer to defend against.
Okay, now looking at jury selection for Trump's New York trials, critics of the process have alleged that questions presented to the jury pool may not go far enough in ensuring fairness. Based on your experience, how do you see it?
I think that the questionnaire is pretty good. It gets to a lot of the issues, but we also have to remember that the questionnaire itself is not the only thing that the judge and the lawyers are dealing with. They are actually questioning prospective jurors, and there are many details that emerge during those questions that were not necessarily captured on any questionnaire. So I think that the attorneys for Trump are still having an advantage in being able to ask those questions and use their peremptory challenges and challenges for cause to remove jurors who are biased against him.
Now, out of the 12 jurors that are needed, plus a few alternates, 7 have already been selected. What do you make of the speed of this jury selection? Does it indicate anything else about how this trial may operate and how long it could take?
It's not that unexpected that it would take a week or so to get a jury seated. I think that what we've seen, what we've heard from jurors who have been excluded and come out to speak, does suggest that this will be a matter of concern in the sense that the jury will take its time to deliberate when all this is done. That might actually stretch out the proceedings a little bit longer than expected. But from what we've seen, the jurors who are rejected seem very interested in listening to all the evidence that presented.
Oh, that's a interesting insight there. So, Gerard, just lastly, considering that this is such a high-profile case, do you have faith that jurors will be able to be impartial?
I think that a lot of jurors will do their best to be impartial, but I think that because of who Donald Trump is, every single person on that jury will have some preconceived notion about Donald Trump. The real issue is whether they can separate their personal opinion from the facts. And a lot of people, when they have such an important case to consider, they may very well consider the facts and not let their biases get in the way.
All right. Good to speak with you as always. Gerard Filiti, civil and human rights attorney and senior counsel at the Lawfare Project. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Coming up, Google employees join Gaza protesters in California, Seattle, and New York. They demand the tech giant end its cloud contract with Israel. The deal, named Project Nimbus, is sparking workplace controversy.
A Boeing whistleblower says a fatal flaw in a Boeing jet could cause it to break apart mid-air, claims that Boeing denies. More on the allegations and testimony before Congress today.
A friend of mine, she told me about Bonatti. He was the only one to address all 4 discs as quickly as possible. And if you're to that point where you can't take it anymore, like I was, do your research, find out who the best is, and get it done.
Bonatti succeeds where others fail.
This is it, the culmination of everything our young athlete has worked for these past months. He's filled with determination. You can see it in his face. Is today the day he overcomes? And here we go. There is no defense in the world that will keep him at bay. He's on fire. Nothing can stop him. Watch him as he heads towards the goal. Oh, he's blocked hard, but that doesn't stop him. He's a warrior. He's back up. His eyes are on the goal. He's set up for the shot. He shoots. Goal!
Achieving goals like this is only possible with the monthly support of people just like you.
Please call the number on your screen right now and give your monthly support to Shriners Hospitals for Children so other children can reach their goals too.
If you give just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day, we will send you your very own Love to the Rescue blanket as a reminder of the love you're giving us. Because of monthly support of people like you, nothing is stopping me from achieving my goals.
And here we go. There is no defense in the world that will keep him at bay. He's going left. Oh, he fakes right and continues. Look at those moves. He takes the shot. Goal! Please call or go online now. If operators are busy, call again or go to loveshriners.org to give right away. Your monthly gift helps kids achieve their goals. Goal!
Imagine a coffee that cares for your health. expertly fermented with a 50 enzyme complex to enhance flavor and remove bitterness. Small batch roasted to a decadent medium dark, resulting in a brew that is gentle on digestion, low acid, and up to 90% less caffeine than regular coffee. Try America's first enzyme fermented coffee today.
Join us on NTD Good Morning because we want you to stay informed.
Kickstart your morning with the latest you missed overnight.
Right, and don't forget that inspiration.
Absolutely, so let's shine some light on the good news too.
Tune in every weekday morning to NTD News.
The U.S. is planning to impose new sanctions on Iran after its large-scale attack on Israel last weekend. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan says the sanctions will take effect in the coming days.
Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen is warning of economic spillover from Iran's threat to the region. Yellen said the new sanctions will be used to disrupt Iran's malign and destabilizing activity.
NTD's Jeremy Sandberg has more on the aftermath of Iran's attack.
We do not want to see further escalation of the conflict.
State Department spokesman Matthew Miller says Israel has not told the U.S. of plans to respond to Iran's weekend attack.
We have been in close communication with them, as well as other partners in the region over the past few days. The Secretary has continued his consultations.
White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said Tuesday the U.S. will impose new sanctions on Iran in the coming days. Sullivan says the sanctions aim to contain and degrade Iran's military and target missile and drone programs. He said the U.S. anticipates allies to impose their own sanctions soon. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen warned of economic spillovers from Iran's threat to regional stability. A Hebrew University poll released Tuesday had just under 3/4 of respondents against retaliation strikes on Iran if it undermines Israel's security alliance with allies. Meanwhile, Israel's foreign minister declared he's leading a diplomatic offensive against Iran alongside a military response. He said on X he sent letters to 32 countries and spoke with counterparts, urging them to sanction Iran's missile program and designate Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps a terrorist organization. Britain's Prime Minister says the group of 7 are working on coordinated measures against Iran. Iran's leader is threatening a severe, extensive, and painful response to the smallest action against Iran's interests. Jeremy Sandberg, NTD News.
Dozens of Google employees and pro-Palestinian protesters gathered outside Google's building in Sunnyvale, California yesterday. The group demanded Google drop its cloud contract with Israel's government called Project Nimbus. One Google software engineer from Seattle called the project a workplace safety and health concern.
The more than $1 billion deal with Amazon Web Services aims to provide cloud services for Israel's military and public sector. The multi-year project is being rolled out in 4 phases. It was announced in 2021.
Similar protests popped up at Google offices in Seattle and New York.
The protests were organized by a group called No Tech for Apartheid on X. Late Tuesday, the group said Google ordered the arrest of several workers who staged sit-ins at Google's office.
Google did not immediately respond to a request for comment about the protests.
And Columbia University officials being questioned today by House Republicans over alleged anti-Semitism on campus. Columbia leadership was not present for a December hearing where the heads of several top universities were grilled over how they dealt with rising anti-Semitism. UPenn President Liz McGill resigned a few days after that hearing as students, faculty, and donors called for her removal. Harvard's Claudine Gay followed after weathering a month of intense pressure.
MIT President Sally Kornbluth found support from the university and managed to hold her job. Columbia has so far avoided the fray. The university released a statement saying it's committed to combating anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism on school campuses has been a big issue since Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th.
Jewish campus organization Hillel International conducted a survey. It found over 60% of Jewish parents said their child eliminated at least one school from their application over concerns about anti-Semitism.
And a Boeing whistleblower says all 787 jets need to be grounded to allow safety checks. The Boeing engineer is set to testify before two Senate panels today. NTD's Daniel Monahan has more on the allegations.
Boeing engineer Sam Salahpour will testify before Congress on Wednesday about the safety worries he brought up in a complaint to the FAA earlier this year. The quality engineer believes there is an assembly flaw in the fuselage of the 787 Dreamliner, which could cause a catastrophic crash. Salahpour addressed his concerns Tuesday on NBC Nightly News.
I think it's as serious as I have ever seen in my lifetime.
Salahpour has worked for Boeing for 15 years. He said he was retaliated against for raising safety concerns and transferred to the 777 line in 2022.
I'm at peace with myself because this is going to save a lot of people's lives.
Salahpour's attorney says at least 6 other potential whistleblowers have approached her with similar safety concerns, but haven't agreed to testify.
Not yet. I think some of them will come forward, but frankly, they're terrified.
Another Boeing whistleblower, John Barnett, was found dead in his hotel parking lot in March. His death was ruled a suicide by the coroner. It occurred just before he was supposed to continue his deposition against Boeing. Barnett had accused Boeing of neglecting safety concerns. Boeing responded to the safety allegations in a statement saying, "These claims about the structural integrity of the 787 are inaccurate. The issues raised have been subject to rigorous engineering examination under FAA oversight." They say the 787 has undergone stress tests for 165,000 cycles, even more than what's expected during its lifetime, and it never had any issues. United Airlines says it's feeling the impact of Boeing's ongoing problems. The carrier says it lost $200 million during the first 3 months of the year after Boeing was forced to ground its 737 MAX 9 jets for several weeks. United says its first quarter would have turned a profit if the grounding did not happen. The company recently lowered its expected number of new planes for this year because of delays from Boeing. They were supposed to get 101 new narrow-body planes, but now they're only expecting 61. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Two Senate hearings will delve into Boeing's safety improvements today. As we mentioned earlier, the Senate committees will examine Boeing's safety culture and new allegations from the whistleblower. We'll have live coverage of that hearing later in the broadcast.
In another hearing, the Senate Commerce Committee will seek insights from aviation experts on Boeing's safety gaps and the FAA's role in oversight. The expert witnesses include professionals from MIT, NASA, and the University of Southern California's Aviation Safety and Security Program.
Up ahead, after the break, military whistleblowers are challenging the official January 6th narrative. We'll bring you the House hearing on this.
When I started MyPillow, it was just a problem solution, one product company. Well, since then, with the help of my dedicated employees, we now have hundreds of products, some you might not even know about. To get the word out, we're having a $25 extravaganza. 2-pack multi-use MyPillows, $25. MyPillow sandals, $25. And for the first time ever, our 6-pack towel sets, you guessed it, just $25. Our brand new 4-pack dish towels, $25. And I've never done this before. Premium MyPillows with all new Giza fabric, any size, any loft level, even king size for only $25. And there's so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code for our $25 extravaganza. Order $75 and over, your entire order ships absolutely free.
One in 5 children worldwide are faced with the reality of living without food. No family dinners, no special treats, not enough energy to play. All around the world, hunger is affecting children's physical and mental health. Toddlers are suffering from acute malnutrition, which stunts their growth. Kids are forced to drop out of school so they can help support their families. Conflict, inflation, and climate have ignited the worst famine in our lifetime. And we are fed up. Fed up that hunger devours dreams. Fed up that hunger destroys joy. Fed up with the fact that hunger eats childhood. Help us feed the futures of children all over the world by visiting getfedupnow.org. For as little as $10 a month, you can join Save the Children as we support children and families in desperate need of our help. Now is the time to get fed up and give back. When you join the cause, your $10 monthly donation can help communities in need of life-saving treatments and nutrients, prevent children from dropping out of school, support our work with communities and governments to help children go from short-term surviving to long-term thriving. And now, thanks to special government grants, every dollar you give can multiply up to 10 times the impact. That means more food, water, medicine, and help for kids around the world. You'll also receive a free tote bag to share your support for children in need. Having your childhood eaten away by hunger is unimaginable. Get fed up. Call us now or visit getfedupnow.org.
I'm Arian Pastar in South America, Brazil, and we are NTD News.
Supreme Court justices are questioning whether federal prosecutors went too far in bringing charges against January 6 defendants.
Their ruling could have ramifications for hundreds of cases, even former President Trump's. NTD's Daniel Monahan has the details.
The justices on Tuesday heard arguments in the case of Joseph Fisher. He's a former Pennsylvania police officer indicted for allegedly disrupting the certification of Biden's 2020 election victory. The alleged crime in question, violating a 2002 federal law that prohibits the obstruction of an official proceeding. Roughly 170 January 6th defendants have been convicted under the same act, which carries a maximum sentence of 20 years. The Supreme Court will consider whether the interpretation of the law by prosecutors can be used against January 6th defendants and whether the convictions already secured will stick. After more than 90 minutes of arguments, it was not clear where the court would land in Fisher's case. Fisher's lawyer argued for a narrow application of the obstruction charge. He said that the Justice Department misapplied the law in this case. Conservative Justices Samuel Alito and Neil Gorsuch appeared most likely to take his side. Justice Gorsuch spoke about how a broad interpretation of the law could cover numerous other actions, including nonviolent protests. Justice Alito noted that many protests have erupted within the Supreme Court, but the Justice Department has yet to charge any protesters with a single day in prison. Liberal Justices Elena Kagan and Sonia Sotomayor seemed more favorable to the prosecution. Justices Amy Coney Barrett and Ketanji Brown Jackson appeared to want a middle ground that might make it harder, but not impossible to use the obstruction charge. The Supreme Court's decision in this case could also have significant ramifications for former President Trump. He was charged with the same offense in 2023. Special counsel Jack Smith accused him of corruptly obstructing an official proceeding by attempting to remain in power after the 2020 election. A Supreme Court ruling dismissing the charge against Fisher could make the case against Trump much weaker. The court's decision is expected by July. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Military whistleblowers are challenging January 6 claims today. 4 National Guardsmen will speak in a House hearing.
Congressman Barry Loudermilk told the Epoch Times these men will say that narratives in the official January 6th report are false.
This testimony could echo similar claims by former President Trump and conservatives.
Let's tune in.
Affirmative, and you may be seated. I will now introduce each of our witnesses. Our first witness is Command Sergeant Major Michael Brooks. Command Sergeant Major Brooks' military career spanned 29 years with combat tours in Iraq. Command Master Sergeant Brooks spent the end of his career in the D.C. National Guard, including at the Joint Task Force D.C. Mr. Brooks now works at a company that seeks to protect national and economic security from undue foreign influence. On January 6, 2021, Mr. Brooks was a senior enlisted advisor to Major General William Walker and advised on all enlisted matters. Our next witness is Colonel Earl Matthews, a decorated military veteran with a long and accomplished career in government and the private sector. Colonel Matthews served as Deputy Assistant to the President and Senior Director for Defense Policy and Strategy on the National Security Council staff. He also served as the Army's Acting General Counsel and Principal Deputy General Counsel, as well as the Deputy Legal Counsel to the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. On January 6, 2021, Colonel Matthews was the Chief Legal Advisor to Major General William Walker and was with him all day. Our next witness is Brigadier General Aaron Dean, with a similarly accomplished career in military service. Brigadier General Dean served in Operation Desert Storm and a combat tour in Iraq. He also served in the D.C. National Guard for over 35 years, exemplifying what it means to be a Capitol Guardsman. On January 6, 2021, Brigadier General Dean served as Major General Walker's Adjutant General and Principal Advisor. Our final witness is Captain Timothy Nick, an active duty service member in the Florida National Guard. Captain Nick has experience in law enforcement, including as a current officer in the U.S. Secret Service. Captain Nick previously served in the D.C. National Guard's Public Affairs Department. On January 6, 2021, Captain Nick was the aide-de-camp to Major General William Walker and took detailed notes of actions of Major General Walker on that day. Thank you, gentlemen, for your service to our country and your strength and courage to come forward and share your accounting of events on January 6, 2021. We all look forward to your testimony. As a reminder, we have read your written statements, and they will appear in full in the hearing record. Under Committee Rule 9, you are to limit your oral presentation to a brief summary of your written statement, unless I extend the time period in consultation with Ranking Member Torres. Please remember to turn on your microphone using the button in front of you so that members can hear you. When you begin to speak, the light on the timer in front of you will turn green. After 4 minutes, the light will turn yellow. When the red light comes on, your 5 minutes has expired, and we just ask that you please wrap up your comments at that moment. I now recognize Command Sergeant Major Michael Brooks for 5 minutes.
Good morning, Chairman Loudermilk, Ranking Member Torres, and members of the subcommittee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. I am Command Sergeant Major Retired Michael F. Brooks. I am the former Command Senior Enlisted
Mr. Brooks, I'm sorry to interrupt. Could you pull the microphone a little closer to you? People in the audience are having a hard time hearing. I apologize for that. You can start over, and we'll reset your time.
Thank you. Is that better? Yes, sir. Good morning, Chairman Loudermilk, Ranking Member Torres, and members of the subcommittee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. I am Command Sergeant Major Retired Michael F. Brooks. I am the former Command Senior Enlisted Leader of the District of Columbia National Guard, the Capitol Guardians. I retired on March 1st of 2023 with 29 years of active federal service in the Army and the Army National Guard. While I am no longer in service, I continue defense of our great nation as a compliance and investigation specialist with the Compliance and Adjudication Division of the Office of Information and Communications Technology and Services of the Bureau of Industry and Security. I served as the Command Senior Enlisted Leader of the D.C. National Guard from December 2017 to December of 2022. As the most senior non-commissioned officer in the organization, I reported directly to Commanding General, and from 2017 until his retirement and selection as the 38th Sergeant at Arms for the House of Representatives, my commander was Major General William J. Walker. As his senior enlisted advisor, I reported only to him, and I was with him throughout the days before, the day of, and the subsequent weeks and months that followed the events of January 6, 2021. So imagine my surprise when the DODIG released their report without once interviewing myself or other critically significant D.C. National Guard members with firsthand knowledge of what occurred that fateful day. Not anonymous witnesses or anonymous officials, but senior-ranking military members that were in the room, on the calls, and on the secure video teleconference. I'm not here to disparage the Army that I love and served for nearly 3 decades, but to correct the record and speak for the hundreds of enlisted soldiers and airmen of the D.C. National Guard who have always answered the call to serve without political bias or prejudice, who have always faithfully fulfilled their oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Those Capitol Guardians who continue to do so even today after being degraded by senior officials of the Army and the Army staff in their inaccurate and biased report. I believe those who steered the narrative of the DoD-IG report did so not for historical documentation or to enhance future military response capability, but to protect and advance individuals who sought to shield themselves from responsibility, to overly enhance their role and perceived significance in a critical moment in the history of our nation's democracy. In truth, their actions, no matter how innocent they believe them to be, have led to an awful mark on our military and shown an incredible lack of respect for the service of the men and women who serve in the D.C. National Guard before, during, and after January 6th of 2021. Trust in our Army's most senior leadership was lost. Their actions and comments have highlighted the Army staff and the Secretary of the Army's lack of knowledge and understanding of the D.C. National Guard, its authorities, and capabilities. Prior to the protests following the murder of George Floyd in May of 2020, I do not believe any of them understood just how unique the D.C. National Guard is, and the responsibility that is delegated from the President to the Secretary of Defense and further delegated to the Secretary of the Army. I believe it is this lack of understanding that led to the significant delays in the military response on January 6th. I will not sit here today and say if we had been given authority to immediately respond when Chief Son, the Chief of the Capitol Police, made that first frantic call for support at 1:49 p.m., that we would have prevented the breach of the Capitol. What I can tell you with absolute certainty is that we had a force equipped and ready to respond. And that despite the inaccuracies of the DoD-IG report, we had a plan and would have liked the opportunity to try. Instead, we waited for hours, less than 2 miles east of the Capitol, knowing our Capitol had been breached and not understanding why we had not received the authorization to respond. I cannot tell you the number of times someone has asked me, where were you? Where was the National Guard? Or how can you call yourselves Capitol Guardians? There is no easy response to those questions, and the truth is, we were there and we were ready. We just weren't authorized to respond, and that is difficult to explain. The soldiers and airmen of the D.C. National Guard deserve better. They deserve to be recognized for their sacrifices over a prolonged period of civil unrest from May of 2020 to May of 2021. I look forward to your questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergeant Major. I now recognize Colonel Earl Matthews for 5 minutes.
Chairman Loudermilk, Ranking Member Torres, members of the subcommittee, good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. My name is Earl Matthews, and I'm a colonel in the United States Army Reserve. I'm in the 25th year of my military service. I love our Army, and I'm committed to our Army values. I'm here today because I'm here today because two senior general officers of the United States Army, General Charles A. Flynn and Lieutenant General Walter E. Pyatt, have acted contrary to those values. Generals Pyatt and Flynn have lied to Congress, to federal investigators, and to the American people about why it took so long for the District of Columbia National Guard to deploy to the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. Their distortions contributed to a deeply and fundamentally flawed Department of Defense Inspector General investigation and to deficiencies in other official inquiries. On January 6, 2021, I was on duty and present during numerous conversations, video conferences, and phone calls leading up to, during, and after the riot, which was engulfing the Capitol. When I say these general officers lied, I do not do so lightly or cavalierly. I speak from personal knowledge, having interacted with them on January 6th in my official military capacity. Unfortunately, some senior officials within the Department of the Army and the Department of Defense have sought to protect or to promote Generals Flynn and Pyatt. These senior civilian officials have excused, condoned, or overlooked the misconduct of these officers. As a former acting general counsel of the Department of the Army and its chief legal officer, I take these matters seriously, even if others don't. I'm glad the subcommittee has an open mind and is committed to the dogged search for the truth. In my formal statement, which I provided to the committee in advance of today's hearing, I detailed General Pyatt's and General Flynn's intentional misrepresentations to the Congress and to federal investigators. During today's hearing, I hope to discuss with you how they lied, where they lied, and in my opinion, why they lied. Thank you.
I'm Jonathan Lawson. If you're 50 to 85, I have an important message about security. Write down the number on your screen so you can call when I finish. The lock I want to talk to you about isn't the one on your door. This is a lock for your life insurance, a rate lock that guarantees that once you're insured, your rate can never go up at any time for any reason. But be careful. Many policies you see do not have one. But you can get a lifetime rate lock from Colonial Penn. Call this number to learn more. This plan was designed with a rate lock for people on a fixed income who want life insurance that fits their budget and is simple to get. Coverage options start at $9.95 a month, less than 35 cents a day. Act now, and your rate will be locked in for life. It will never increase, guaranteed. This is lifelong coverage that can never be canceled as long as you pay your premiums, guaranteed. And your acceptance is guaranteed, with no health questions. You cannot be turned down because of your health. Call for your information kit and read about this rate lock for yourself. You'll also get a free beneficiary planner. Both are free with no obligation. Don't miss out. Call for information, then decide. Read about the 30-day 100% money-back guarantee. Don't wait. Call this number now.
Call now and you'll also get this free beneficiary planner. Use this valuable guide to record important information and your final wishes, and it's yours free just for calling. So don't wait. Call 1-800-357-4821 for your free information. That's 1-800-357-4821. There's no risk or obligation. That number again is 1-800-357-4821. That's 1-800-357-4821. 1-800-357-4821. Call now.
Being prepared is a part of who you are, but it's especially important in the case of a disaster. Be informed about possible emergencies in your area. Make a plan that covers where you go in an emergency. Build a kit with the things you need to survive. There's no one more capable of planning for your situation than you. Start your plan today. Go to ready.gov/myplan.
These are all farmers. Maybe
no,
not this
not
one.
a farm anymore.
But here's a farm, right?
No, there's also not a farm anymore.
All these people shut down because of the government policies?
Yeah.
The government wants to control the food. So we don't eat meat, but we eat insect.
As the price of staples goes through the roof, people will say, I can't afford a steak anymore. So, all right, I'll eat your stupid crickets.
I'm Iris Tao at the White House, and we are NTD.
Welcome back. Military whistleblowers are challenging January 6th claims today. 4 National Guardsmen are speaking in a House hearing.
Representative Barry Loudermilk told the Epoch Times these men will say that narratives in the official January 6 report are false.
This testimony could echo similar claims by former President Trump and conservatives.
Watch.
Members of United States Army, U.S. Capitol Police, Metropolitan Police Department, District of Columbia Government, and U.S. Secret Service Uniform Division, the U.S. Army's Lieutenant General Walter Pyatt, Director of Army Staff, and the Army's Lieutenant General Charles Flynn, Director of Chief of Staff of Operations, were on the call. Also was Colonel John Lubis, Executive Officer to the Secretary of the Army. The Army falsely denied that General Flynn was ever on the call. This is false and material on its face. Lieutenant Flynn was on the call and even participated in discussions. The Defense Inspector's review also rounds language papering over the fact that Lieutenant General Pyatt and Lieutenant General Flynn, while on the call, discussed how they did not like the optics. That is a direct quote. And They stated it would be in their best military advice to recommend to the Secretary of the Army, Ryan McCarthy, to deny the request from Command General William Walker to deploy the D.C. National Guard and aid U.S. Capitol Police in restoration of order, liberty on Capitol Hill. In addition, former Secretary of the Army Ryan McCarthy claims he was on a 2:31 p.m. call and spoke on that call. This is false, unless he was in the room shadowing the call and he did not speak nor identify himself. He was not on the call. He was en route to Washington, D.C. Regional Office at the Federal Bureau of Investigation to support that agency's concept of operations plan for January 6. He went on to claim that he called and spoke to Major General Walker at least twice, ordering the deployment of the D.C. National Guard. This is also false. At no time did General Walker take any calls, nor did we ever hear from the Secretary on any of the ongoing conference calls or the secure video teleconferencing throughout the day. This I know because I was with the Command General the entire time recording events. Throughout the day, Major General Walker told by staff officers to stand by with respect to deploying to the Capitol Hill. Only at 5:09 p.m. in the early evening, which I wrote down in my wheel book, was the D.C. Guard given order to deploy and move to the Capitol to assist Capitol Police. We arrived too late. One American lay dead with other sisters and brothers injured, including federal and local law enforcement officers. We were ready and standing by. I know if we were able to deploy immediately when General Walker made the request, the National Guard could have helped end civil disturbance and restored public order quickly. The Army National Guard motto is always ready, always there. The D.C. National Guard was ready to help and assist Capitol Police, but we were not allowed to do our job due to paralyzed decision-making by Acting Secretary of Defense Chris Miller and Secretary of the Army Ryan McCarthy. This led to federal leadership in the Pentagon. This led to a crisis in federal leadership at the Pentagon and delayed the D.C. response by 3 hours and 19 minutes. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today and articulate the facts as they happened. I look forward to answering any questions you may have.
Thank you, Captain. And as we begin our question session, I want to reemphasize how much we appreciate all of you coming forward. I know as a veteran of the Armed Forces myself, this takes an incredible amount of courage to come forward and tell the truth. We'll now move into the questions session, and I begin to... just a reminder that make sure the microphones are very close to you during this time. I now recognize the gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Griffith, for 5 minutes.
We have a sergeant major, a colonel, a brigadier general, and a captain. Your testimony is compelling. Thank you. Now to the questions. On January 6, 2021, were each of you gentlemen with Major General William Walker from 1:49 p.m. through 5:55 p.m., yes or no?
Yes. I was.
Yes.
Yes.
The Department of Defense Inspector General report, DODIG report, alleges that the Secretary of Army contacted Major General Walker multiple times on January 6 during that time frame. Some allegations are 2 calls, some are 3. But the allegations would be, or the assertions would be, 3:04 p.m., 4:35 p.m., and finally at 5 p.m. Do any of you recall any one of those calls taking place?
Negative, sir. Can I amplify that, though?
Yes, sir.
So, by way of background, I was a political appointee in the Trump administration. I was a senior political appointee. I was also a guard. I was also in the Army Reserve and National Guard. Now, in June of 2017, I was appointed to Acting General Counsel of the Department of the Army. The next month, Ryan McCarthy was appointed Acting Secretary of the Army. He'd been confirmed as Undersecretary of the Army. So Ryan McCarthy was my colleague. He was my friend. I told the committee he was a good Secretary of the Army. I had a great deal of affection for Ryan McCarthy. I know he did for me. So I'm not here to badmouth Ryan McCarthy, but I've got to set the record straight.
Yes, sir.
In my memo, I called Pye and Flynn liars. I never called McCarthy a liar for 2 reasons. One, it wasn't clear to me that he was saying some of the things they said he said. I mean, it appeared to me that some of the things they said he said were said by others who were trying to really protect themselves. The other thing was, he was my friend. You just don't turn it off. You don't call your friend a liar. So, but at 2:30, at 2:31, at the 2:30, they said that he was on a call with General Walker, and he told him to move the QRF to the Armory. I mean, that did not happen. Ryan McCarthy didn't speak on that call. And we know this because that call was on a conference bridge. It was a D.C. government conference bridge. Now, the DOD IG incorrectly states that McCarthy requested the call. I helped facilitate that call. General Walker was on a call with Dr. Rodriguez, who was the Homeland Security Advisor for Mayor Bowser. Mayor Bowser was on a call. Chief Son was on a call. Chief Conte was on a call. All of us at this dais were all on a call. Ryan McCarthy never spoke on that call. I'm a person who was his friend who knew his voice quite well. If he had said anything, I would say that. We were told he was unavailable. I called this executive officer to ask to speak to him, and we were told he was unavailable. General Walter Pyatt and General Charles Flynn were on the call. Subsequently, Flynn denies he was even involved in the call. For what reasons, I really don't know. He did so under oath, and Commander Sergeant Major Brooks, myself, and Lieutenant Nick were all interviewed by the Select Committee. We told them that. To me, this is material because Flynn denied under oath twice to the House Oversight Committee and to the Select Committee that he was even participated in the call. That goes to his integrity, to his credibility.
All right,
I'm
let me underline this. Colonel, you are also an attorney.
Yes, sir.
You got your degree from Harvard Law School.
Yes, sir, I got a mortgage in Great Falls, Virginia. I have no reason to be up here lying because I don't want to go to federal prison.
And you understand that you are, if you lie to Congress, Title 18-1001 makes that a crime. Is that correct?
Unquestionably, sir.
And you also understand that as a member of the legal establishment, that if you were to lie under oath, your license to practice law, no matter the fact that you have a JD from Harvard, could be in jeopardy. Is that correct?
No question, sir. And, sir, I want to point out.
Yes, sir.
I spoke to the Select Committee. I was not under oath, but it doesn't matter because you don't have to be under oath. If you lie to Congress, you're still a federal crime.
Yes,
and
sir.
I'm fully aware of that. And I submitted a document stating that these men were liars, and I stand by it 100%. And it's the stand on my army that they got away with it, and no one said anything about it. And they even sent Pyatt's name to the President of the United States to have him promoted. He was a liar. And all of us can attest to that.
And you want the truth to come out?
No question about it, sir.
Good, bad, or ugly, correct?
Exactly.
Anybody here want anything but the truth? Any of the four witnesses want anything but the truth to come out?
No, sir.
Good, bad, or ugly, doesn't matter, no matter what side you're on. Is that correct? I heard a yes, a no, sir.
Yes,
you
sir.
want the truth?
Yes, sir. Nothing but the truth. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Colonel Matthews, Brigadier General?
That's correct.
That's correct, yes.
Captain. All right. Well, I don't know. I got lots of other questions to ask, but I appreciate you jumping in and clearly with your heartfelt emotions telling us that things weren't exactly true and that, in fairness, the January 6th committee was not told the truth. Is that correct, Colonel?
So they were not told the truth, but I think they knew that, though, and they disregarded that. And this is what I mean. So General Flynn testified before the House Oversight Committee on June 15, 2021. During his opening statement and during his questioning, he stated explicitly that he was not on that phone call. He made no statements on that call. Subsequently, he was interviewed by the January 6th committee, and he also stated, he was directly asked by the senior investigative counsel, did you make any statements on that call? He says he did not. He was not on the call, he says. Now, that is perjury, in my opinion. I mean, I'm a lawyer, but it's for a court to decide, but to me, that's perjury. But the important point is, later, I raised that. I was interviewed by the Select Committee in
Unfortunately, my time is up, but hopefully you'll get another opportunity to talk about it. I apologize. My time is up. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman yields. Now recognize the subcommittee's ranking member, Ms. Torres, for 5 minutes.
Colonel Matthews, I spent more than 17 years as a 911 dispatcher. I worked through some very difficult times in the city of LA, Rodney King riots, the verdicts. On 9/11, I was tasked with putting together mobile field force units to dispatch to critical locations to ensure that those would not be attacked. So I know what an EOC is supposed to look like. I know what orders to follow during certain types of emergency. I was prepared with a manual that was provided to me, things that we have practiced time and time and time again. During an emergency, you agree that it is vital that we have a quick response and a unified coordination that has clear communications, correct?
No question.
I was struck by your written testimony when you said the D.C. National Guard was delayed because Milley, McCarthy, and McConville believed that the President of the United States might deploy the National Guard improperly on that day and had taken measures to prevent this. This must have been incredibly frustrating for you and for your colleagues in the Guard. Why do you think senior military leaders believe the President of the United States might employ the National Guard improperly on January 6th? Was it based on their words, actions, or both?
I think that belief was irrational because I don't believe the president ever gave any of them an unlawful order.
Okay,
He gave none of them an unlawful order.
Secretary
He appointed all of them to high office.
Ryan
Appointed them all
McCarthy
to high office,
testified that on January 6th Select Committee, that at one point he was walking down the Pentagon hallways, and one of the most seasoned reporters asked him whether the Army was planning to seize ballot boxes. Do you know if ideas like the president seizing ballot boxes was something Secretary McCarthy was considering when making decisions about deploying the Guard on January 6th?
I think it was, but I think it was not a rational belief. I think
Okay.
so. Secretary McCarthy
Was
says
there widespread fear within the Department of Defense about the president using the military or
No.
other levers of the state to impact the election around the time of the 2020 election?
no. So it was not.
For round-the-clock original news coverage, visit us at ntd.com or download our NTD app.
Stay with us and we'll bring you more in the next 2 hours.
A performance that truly matters. For each and every one of us. This is what you've been waiting for. Coming to Lincoln Center, NJ-PAC, State Theater, Purchase, and Stamford. Starting March 28th. Tickets at genuine.com.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
They're just young people, hungry, homeless, and vulnerable. Abused youth often feel safer on the street. Now, more than ever, that's the most dangerous place of all. Covenant House is helping young adults facing homelessness. We're providing safe shelter to thousands, but the need is overwhelming, and no young person is ever turned away. Please call or go online now with your gift of $19 a month to help a young person. You'll provide safe shelter, hot meals, and medical care. Your gift will show them they're loved. Homeless young people are afraid and alone with nowhere else to turn.
You want to know that there's somewhere you can go that's safe. So the Covenant House did that for us.
Please call now with your gift of $19 a month. We'll send you this blanket as a reminder of the comfort your gift provides a young person tonight. Please don't wait. Your gift is the lifeline a young person needs now. Call the number on your screen or go online to safeplacetosleep.org. Thank you for saving precious lives.
Losing the fear of looking foolish comes with age.
Who did you steal them from?
Losing your way in your own home doesn't. Confusion with time and place may be a sign of Alzheimer's.
Mom, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine.
Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's.
Welcome to NTD News Today.
Here are today's top stories.
Boeing whistleblowers called before Congress today to detail their allegations of major shortcomings at the beleaguered plane maker in the wake of multiple failures and groundings.
The impeachment of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas continues today, but it might quickly be shut down, what we know so far.
Former President Trump will be meeting with the president of Poland. We have more on an issue that could be on their agenda.
It's an election year and getting out the vote costs a lot of money. We take a look at Democrat and Republican cash levels following a recent FEC filing.
President Biden is set to move against Chinese steel and aluminum. What influence that could have on inflation and the possible motive behind it.
This is NTD News Today, live from our NTD Global Headquarters. Here are Stephania Cox and Chris Beers.
And before we head to the top stories, just in, a magnitude 6.4 earthquake has hit off the coast of southern Japan.
The earthquake was recorded as a low 6 on Japan's seismic intensity scale. No tsunami warning was issued. Damage and injuries are currently unknown.
And as former President Trump's hush money trial takes a one-day break, Trump is scheduled to meet with Polish President Andrzej Duda in New York.
An anonymous source familiar with the matter said there is a dinner meeting planned.
Duda was in New York for meetings at the United Nations. He has long expressed admiration for Trump and had a close relationship when both were presidents.
The meeting comes as European leaders prepare for the possibility that Trump might win the November election and return to the White House.
The Russia-Ukraine war is likely on the agenda. Poland is a NATO ally and shares a border with Ukraine. Duda is a staunch supporter of Ukraine and has encouraged the U.S. to provide more aid to the nation at war.
Trump has spoken out against such funding, but last week said he may support new money in the form of a loan.
The first quarter Federal Election Commission filings showed Democrats with a big cash advantage. In the presidential contest, President Biden's team raised over $90 million in March alone, and including PACs and other resources, had with over $192 million in cash at the end of the month. Former President Trump raised about $65 million and had about $93 million in cash at the end of March.
Democrats also have more cash for Senate races. The Senate Leadership Fund supporting the GOP raised $26 million in the first quarter. It has about $60 million in cash.
But the Democrat-associated Senate Majority PAC brought in about almost $39 million, with $92 million in cash on hand.
Democrats, though, have a tougher road to keep control of the Senate. They will have to defend 23 seats, while the GOP needs to hold just 11. The impeachment of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas continues today, but it could quickly be dismissed.
100 senators will be sworn in as jurors for the impeachment trial this afternoon, but Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is expected to move to either table or dismiss the 2 articles of impeachment.
Democrats are expected to unanimously back the Schumer motion, and Republican Senators Susan Collins and Mitt Romney might join their Democrat colleagues.
It would take a 2/3 majority of the Senate to convict Mayorkas.
Schumer has not actually said what he will do today, but he described the impeachment as a sham, an awful precedent for Congress, and more. For analysis of the Mayorkas impeachment proceedings, we're joined by Hugh Fike, Director of Government Relations at the Conservative Partnership Institute. Hugh, thanks for coming on the show today. Where does the Mayorkas impeachment proceedings stand at this moment?
Well, the House impeachment managers brought over the articles yesterday. They laid out their case for why they've moved forward on impeaching Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas. And so now it's up to the Senate. So, Senator Pro Temp Murray will swear in the 99 other senators today, I think around 1 p.m., and then they'll begin the trial. This is not going to obviously look like anything like former President Donald Trump went through, given the state of the Senate and sort of the lack of interest in this. But that'll begin the process, and hopefully there's robust debate and a lengthy process that the House impeachment managers can make in front of the Senate.
And what's the likelihood of an actual conviction here, Hugh?
Well, it's a numbers game, and I think that Senator, the leader Schumer wants to avoid putting any of his members really on record for a straight up or down conviction. And so what I think he's going to try to do is either move to a motion to table, but it seems like he's backed away from that, and probably most likely going to move to a motion to dismiss, which would be a little bit different, but effectively the same outcome given the breakdown in numbers. And so, who knows? I think that he's going to do everything he can to protect the vulnerable Senate Democrats. But ultimately, that's going to be a thing they're going to have to respond for.
And Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has said of all this, impeachment should never be used to settle a policy disagreement. He's called this awful precedence. What's your response to his statements?
Well, this is only the second time a cabinet member has been impeached, and the first time in 150 years. So to dismiss this, serious trial with these trivial comments, I think is, emphatic of what they're doing with this position. This job, the Secretary of Homeland Security, is meant to defend the homeland, and allowing almost 10 million illegals to cross the border, many of who we don't know, most of who we don't know, many that are on the terror watch list, come straight into the country without any pre-vetting or any vetting or knowing who they are, how long they're going to stay, is an abdication of his duty. And so this isn't about settling policy disputes, in the words of many of the House colleagues, the House Republicans who move forward with the impeachment. But this is a very serious matter. And, impeachment is not a trivial exercise. It's a very serious one. And so the fact that the House GOP decided to move forward with that says a lot about what their views on this are.
And you mentioned how serious this is. I want to dig into that a little bit more. Mayorkas, again, is just a handful of federal officials to get impeached since the first U.S. Congress was held in 1789. Why is this measure used so rarely?
Well, it's used rarely. I mean, in part because it's a strong tool, right? Like, this isn't something that you want to trivialize. And if Senator Schumer decides to go down the path of tabling, I think that would do a lot of damage to a very serious tool, and that's used for repercussions if someone's not doing their job. The fact that they decided to do this says a lot about their views on it and what they hope to accomplish. I think if you want to look back to the former president getting impeached twice, and if you look at the accusations on the records and then some of the bills that were introduced after the second impeachment, it was like, this can't be enforced during the time of a twice impeached president. I mean, they've made a mockery of a very serious tool. And so I think just sort of dismissing or tabling or not allowing for robust debate in front of the Senate, it further trivializes a very important process.
Hugh, I want to switch gears a little bit here. This impeachment proceeding is about Mayorkas' handling of the border crisis. Now, damning testimony about the public safety risks of the border crisis was given at a House hearing just yesterday. What did we learn about that?
Well, it's really important to take into consideration the totality of what's going on. Former President Trump left the border and what was going on there in a very good state. And it's turned over, and as many have said, that all he had to do was nothing. If he did nothing, then the border would have been at least in a manageable state, not in a state of crisis, which Alejandro Mayorkas has now recognized after a number of years of being in sole control of this position. But ultimately, I think that this is a question about how the administration is approaching it. So what we've learned is that they finally come around to acknowledging that it's a crisis, in part because every single poll you look at, this issue vastly outweighs everything else, almost combined in a lot of cases. So the American people are very concerned. And I think that the White House has decided that this isn't something that they're going to be able to sustain over the course of this year and during a lot of very serious elections. And so the further that this kind of progresses into the year and they kind of leave unresolved, I think the more that they're going to pay attention and be concerned with it. But it's too little too late in a lot of regards. I mean, like I said, about 10 million people have come into the country, and most of who we don't know. And tens of thousands of Chinese have come into the country as well. So I think the question is, what is the state of the border, and how seriously are they going to continue to take this for the rest of the year?
All right, Hugh Fike, Director of Government Relations at the Conservative Partnership Institute. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now for an update on the crash that killed an aide to a Nevada senator. Officials now say that a suspect allegedly involved in the crash is an illegal immigrant. Earlier this month, Kurt Engelhart was killed in a crash involving 2 cars. Police arrested the 18-year-old driver of the other vehicle shortly after the incident. The Reno Gazette-Journal now reports that he was placed under an ICE immigration detainer. The suspect was initially charged with a felony hit and run. That charge has now been changed to failing to stop at the scene of an accident. He is currently being held on a $100,000 bail.
And next up, Arizona House Democrats are seeking to repeal an 1864 ban on abortion that's poised to become state law again. But they will need help from some Republicans to succeed. A state Supreme Court ruling on April 9th revived a ban on nearly all abortions. The law imposes a sentence of 2 to 5 years for anyone found guilty of inducing an abortion, except to save the life of the mother. It would take effect within 60 days.
Democrats sought to repeal the ban a week ago, but were thwarted by the narrow Republican majority. They say they will try again in Wednesday's session.
They would need at least 2 Republicans to join them to succeed. If the repeal passes in the House, Democrats also would need help in the Senate, where Republicans hold a similar edge. And a federal appeals court has ruled that North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper's COVID pandemic regulations were unconstitutional. The measures closed standalone bars while allowing restaurants with bars to remain open. The judges rejected the governor's argument that the measures were supported by science and data. In the early days of the pandemic, Governor Cooper issued an executive order closing all bars. He later issued another order that allowed only bars inside restaurants to open. A group of bar owners argued the governor's order infringed on their constitutional rights to make a living and for equal treatment. But a trial judge ruled against the Association of Bar Owners. In the appeals court's unanimous opinion yesterday, Judge April Wood wrote the governor's decision was illogical as well as arbitrary and capricious. And Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass asks rich residents of Los Angeles to provide funding for homeless housing as part of her initiative to combat homelessness.
So right now we're working to move past nightly room rentals, including by master leasing and purchasing motels and hotels and already built permanent housing. Now we are asking the most fortunate Angelenos to participate in this effort with personal, private sector, and philanthropic funds to help us acquire more properties, lower the cost of capital, and speed up housing.
Bass made the comments during her State of the City address. She wants the funds for the LA for LA homeless campaign.
The Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority says more than 75,000 people were considered homeless in LA County in 2023. That's a 9% increase from the previous year. And in the city of Los Angeles, over 46,000 people are homeless, a 10% increase from a year earlier.
Last week, the Los Angeles City Council expressed willingness to pay a firm over $2 million to audit the city's homelessness programs. That's at a federal judge's request. Coming up, TikTok has a new app, TikTok Lite, and the European Union wants answers about it, what they're concerned about. That and more after the break.
If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, ride your bike.
If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it.
If you're happy and you know it, smile big and bright.
Thousands of kids just like me are happy every day.
And it's all because of generous people like you who support Shriners Hospitals for Children every month.
All you have to do is call the number on your screen or go online to loveshriners.org right now with your monthly gift.
Because of people like you, Shriners Hospitals for Children is able to make an everyday miracle happen for kids like me.
If you're happy and you know it, dance around. If you're happy and you know it, play a song.
If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it.
If you're happy and you know it, take a shot.
And when you call or go online right now to donate $19 a month,
or more, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a thank you and a reminder of all the smiles you're bringing to kids' faces every day.
Will today be the day you send your love to the rescue?
When you call the number on your screen right now and give as little as $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you'll be making a life-changing difference for a child, just like Sarah.
Your monthly gift today could change your life forever.
Because of you.
We are happy and we know it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please call or go online right now to give. If operators are busy, please wait patiently or go to loveshriners.org right away.
Are you ready to help your family get prepared for the unexpected?
Everyone in? Here we go!
Ladybug and Cat Noir know how important it is to be ready. Because you never know when Hawkmoth is going to strike, or a disaster will hit. And you don't need miraculous powers. Just put those planning skills you already have to good use. Know who to call, decide on a safe meeting location, and create an emergency preparedness kit. Make a plan that will help you and your family be ready when emergencies happen. Ready Kids can help.
I'm coming to save you!
Get started at ready.gov/kids.
Join us on NTD Good Morning because we want you to stay informed.
Kickstart your morning with the latest you missed overnight.
Right, and don't forget that inspiration.
Absolutely, so let's shine some light on the good news too.
Tune in every weekday morning to NTD News.
Welcome back. President Biden will propose a tariff hike on steel and aluminum imports from China today. The move is viewed as a strategic one to increase support among blue-collar voters for the 2024 election.
The president will ask the United States Trade Representative to consider tripling the existing tariff rate as part of a 4-year review. He's expected to announce the request during his visit to the United Steelworkers headquarters in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania today.
The current average tariff on steel and aluminum is 7.5%.
The White House says the tariff hikes will not affect inflation and are necessary for national security.
President Biden has reportedly come under pressure from labor unions to extend the tariffs on Chinese goods.
And an election closely watched by the U.S., China, and Australia. It's happening in a Pacific nation called the Solomon Islands.
Washington and Beijing have been competing for influence here because it sits on a strategic location 1,000 miles off the coast of Australia.
In 2022, a security pact between China and the Solomon Islands sent a warning to the West and raised concerns about a potential Chinese military base off Australia's coast.
A Solomon Islands voter also expressed concern.
The fact that we didn't know really actually what the security pact contains is still a big question mark to me, yeah.
The Solomon Islands' current prime minister is up for re-election. He switched to diplomatic recognition from Taiwan to Beijing and has pledged to deepen ties with China.
European leaders are convening today to discuss one big problem: how to make the bloc more competitive against the U.S. and China. For decades, its economic growth has fallen behind the two big powers.
Traditional EU industries like car manufacturing are facing technological and commercial challenges, including from the US and China, which are pumping a lot of public subsidies into their industries.
He added EU's major competitors, the US, China, and India, are much larger markets and are becoming more protectionist.
Myers thinks Europe needs to boost its productivity growth to become more competitive, and that member states should make compromises and look at harmonizing rules within Europe. And TikTok has been given 24 hours to provide a risk assessment on its new app, TikTok Lite. The app launched this month in France and Spain. The European Commission said it's concerned about the app's potential impact on children and users' mental health. It wants more details on the risks and what the company is doing to mitigate them. The European Union industry chief issued the order. 2 months ago, he began investigating TikTok over possible violation of users' privacy and other concerns. TikTok says the new app is aimed at users over 18. Washington is raising concerns over American intellectual property rights and infringement happening in China. The director of the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office commented yesterday
that U.S. rights holders and business leaders continue to highlight IPR as a top concern in China, and they face significant challenges with IPR infringement, whether it's insufficient deterrence for infringement, challenges to pharmaceutical-related patents, or the misappropriation of trade secrets.
IPR stands for Intellectual Property Rights. The U.S. Trade Representative has designated China as a priority watch on its IP concern list for the past 10 years. According to an official survey collected from many American firms, IPR infringement in China impacts a wide range of their businesses, including their brand names, product reputation, and losses of sales, profits, and licenses. Back to the remarks, the senior U.S. official is demanding higher penalties to tackle infringement. She also highlights that beyond American firms operating in China, IPR infringement also impacts other foreign companies.
Coming up, Boeing whistleblowers speaking before Congress. They're detailing alleged failings, which they say make some major models unsafe to fly. We'll have the details soon when we return.
Does shopping for bladder control products have you feeling like you need someone to be on the lookout for you? Now you have your privacy back. We're HDIS, and we home deliver bladder control products directly to you. We're always on the lookout for you. You get free shipping in plain, unmarked boxes. So your private matters stay private. We understand how you feel. For over 35 years, we've delivered bladder control products to millions of Americans, just like you. You don't have to worry about incontinence any longer. Call now for your free product sample pack and over $45 in money-saving coupons. At HDIS, we're always in stock. We carry all brands in hundreds of styles and sizes. You'll be sure to get what you need, guaranteed.
For your free sample pack with your free catalog and $45 in money-saving coupons and free product samples, call 800-701-6159. That's 800-701-6159.
بیست و سه سال
16 سال عمري ما هفت
اما داعش کردی ام برانبر خشک و دایکان یزدی اما کاری که دور لهمو چمک دموکراسی و موافقانی مرو و انسانیت او بارو خی که است های به تایبت لایرا خوشبوریا بشه که دگره تا با حالانه که اداره اوباما کرد
ریم بو او هفت روز بو و داعش از کرد
تامبوم كرا قوتينيز قريا بما متشكر بهار فيدان نبو باوان رحم نبو
قدامنا سؤالان من خادران نزل باوان وبستم بس وانا قوبس ناش بجوش باش.
They would literally be auctioned in front of soldiers, and then the soldiers begin to bid.
زارود وان همو جيبري تي حملي زارود الدم واسسي وان همو جيبري
وحشیگریه که توا عیاره ظلمی که یک جار گرگاوره لما افرطانه کرا و تعدایی که زور زوریان میده که همانه روزانه دست فروشی ده
اليوم التوزيع
Imagine being a child, having a child mentality, and these evil people come and wheel you away from the only safety you've ever known.
We're in the nation's capital asking the important questions so that you're in the know. Join us daily, Monday through Friday, on the Capitol Report on NTD News.
Welcome back. Following multiple failures and whistleblower allegations of major shortcomings, Boeing's planes are back in the spotlight.
A Senate subcommittee is hearing from some of those whistleblowers today, including a Boeing engineer who told NBC recently he thinks the 787 Dreamliner isn't fit to fly.
And some are not flying. United Airlines says it lost $200 million after grounding its 737 MAX 9 jets following the blowout of a door plug mid-flight back in January.
Boeing maintains its planes are safe. Let's tune in.
Even though they exist, the gap didn't actually go away, and this may result in premature fatigue failure. Effectively, they are putting out defective airplanes. I repeatedly produced reports for my supervisors and Boeing management demonstrating that the gaps in the 787 not being properly measured or shimmed in two major joints of the 787. Evaluating from Boeing, from the 29 inspected airplane data, I found gaps exceeding the specification that were not properly addressed 98.7% of the time. I want to repeat that. 98.7% of the time, the gaps that they were supposed to be shimmed, they were not shimmed. The other issue that I found, when you have these gaps and you drill through them, you get some debris in the stack-ups. This is known to be a problem, not a good thing for the airplanes by Boeing. But Boeing data also, from the inspection of the data, shows that the debris ended up in the gaps 80% of the time. Again, you have debris in the gaps 80% of the time. I want to make clear that I have raised these issues over 3 years. I was ignored. I was told not to create delays. I was told, frankly, to shut up. At one point, Boeing management got sick of me and raising these issues and moved me out of the 787 program into the 777 program. On the 777 program, I found problems. Again, I found that Boeing started a new process to build the airplane without taking into the consideration of the design of the airplane and how the airplane was designed. As a result, I witnessed severe misalignment when the planes were assembled. Boeing manufacturing used unmeasured and unlimited amount of force to correct the misalignment. And this also weakens the airplane in the long run. I literally saw people jumping on the pieces of the airplane to get them to align. I call it the Tarzan effect, among other improper methods. Again, I raised concerns internally. I was sidelined. I was told to shut up. I received physical threats. My boss said, I would have killed someone who said what you said in a meeting. And then this is not a safety culture when you get threatened by bringing issues of safety concerns. I hope that your work on this issue signals to Boeing that they must make real changes and get back to building the airplane safely. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Salapur. Mr. Pearson.
Chair Blumenthal, Ranking Member Johnson, distinguished members of the committee, good morning. Thank you for inviting me today. My name is Ed Pearson. My father was a Washington, D.C. homicide detective, and my mom was a nurse. I learned the importance of telling the truth from them, my teachers and coaches, and this was reinforced at the Naval Academy. The military, like all high-hazard jobs, demands that people tell the truth and admit their mistakes, because if you don't, people will die. Since the first Boeing MAX airplane crash, I've spent every day thinking about the victims, their families, and the millions of people that fly Boeing airplanes. I've done everything I can to continue telling the world the MAX airplane is still unsafe and to alert authorities to Boeing's dangerous manufacturing. I'm here today to share 4 key messages. First, the manufacturing conditions that led to the 2 737 MAX disasters also led to the Alaskan blowout accident. And these conditions continue. In 2019, I testified as a Boeing whistleblower. I had previously warned the 737 general manager before the MAX crash to shut down the factory. I also warned Boeing's general counsels, the CEO, and the board of directors before the second crash to shut it down. They ignored my warnings. During my 2019 testimony, I described the chaotic manufacturing, the dysfunctional safety culture, and the horrible job government authorities were doing investigating the two crashes. The world is shocked to learn about Boeing's current production quality issues. I'm not surprised, because nothing changed after the two crashes. There was no accountability. Not a single person from Boeing went to jail. Hundreds of people died, and there's been no justice. Unless action is taken and leaders are held accountable, every person stepping aboard a Boeing airplane is at risk. Government authorities ignored Boeing's manufacturing problems until the Alaska accident. Passengers shouldn't have to rely on whistleblowers to provide the truth. They should be able to get on airplanes and not have to worry about what model it is, whether it was designed and manufactured to the highest of standards, whether the airline is operating and maintaining it properly, or whether government agencies are providing proper oversight. FAA, DOT, and NTSB leaders frequently state our aviation system is the gold standard. There's a reason commercial aviation has been historically safe, and that's because people worked extremely hard for decades to keep them safe. They told the truth. They admitted their mistakes, and they didn't downplay safety incidents. These agencies have become lazy, complacent, and reactive. The deterioration has been occurring over several years. My second point is the gold standard is now fool's gold, because the only thing that is more dangerous than a dangerous environment is the illusion of a safe environment. 2 brand new airplanes crashed after exhibiting production-related electrical and electronic defects within their first month of operation, and the NTSB did not investigate the factory. The evidence indicates the MAX crashes were triggered by manufacturing defects, not MCAS software. The NTSB is investigating the factory now. However, the reality is the NTSB is overly dependent on Boeing and the FAA to provide technical assistance in their accident investigations. They are not an independent investigative authority. There is an inherent conflict of interest. The Department of Transportation has been completely useless in helping the FAA do their jobs. They have continued to take a hands-off approach to this entire matter. My third point is, if the leaders of those government authorities, government agencies had done their jobs, investigators would have uncovered a mountain of important information. The FAA would have known Boeing's production processes were a mess and the safety culture was terrible. The FAA could have prevented an ever-increasing list of production quality defects. Instead, they're surprised each time it occurs, showing how ineffective and reactive their oversight has become. Just last month, the FAA reported on uncommanded rolls of MAX airplanes due to wiring that is being chafed. Boeing and the FAA have known about these manufacturing defects for more than 2 years and did not inform the public about this potentially catastrophic condition. There are also Canadian reports of new MAX airplanes with chafed wire bundles containing burn marks and evidence of electrical arcing. Boeing routinely states that their airplanes meet or exceed all safety standards. This is untrue and misrepresents the safety of the airplanes. The company illegally removed thousands of quality control inspections on individual airplanes without the FAA's knowledge and without the knowledge of the airlines. Although many of these inspections have been reinstated, hundreds of airplanes have left Boeing factories without those thousands of inspections. My last point is the Department of Justice and FBI relied on the slanted results of the first MAX accident investigation to develop an illegal and unjust deferred prosecution agreement. The NTSB chair reiterated to Congress last week that Boeing has said there are no records documenting the removal of the Alaska Airlines door. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. This is a criminal cover-up. Records do, in fact, exist. I know this because I've personally passed them to the FBI. A 5-minute testimony is not nearly enough time to explain how insidious this story is. Boeing's corporate leaders continue to conceal the truth. They continue to mislead and deceive the public about the safety of the planes. That is the safety culture at the top of the Boeing company right now. The good news is the employees of Boeing and these agencies can overcome poor leadership. We need them to be successful. They're highly capable. They need to be supported and encouraged. And these problems are fixable, but it starts with telling the truth. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Pearson. Mr. Jacobson.
Thank you, Senators. My name is Joe Jacobson. I'm an aerospace engineer with almost 40 years of experience. I worked for Boeing from 1984 to 1995 on the 767 and 777 programs. From 1995 to 2021, I worked in aircraft certification at the FAA. I retired from the FAA in 2021 and have been volunteering as an independent aviation safety advocate since, mostly in support of the ET-302 families. On November 6, 2018, a week after the Lion Air 610 crash, I received an email from a colleague asking if we had done any issue papers on MCAS. This was the first day that I heard about MCAS. The next day, although not assigned to the crash investigation, I received an email from a colleague at the FAA which contained flight data recorder information from the Lion Air crash. It was immediately obvious to me that the 737 MAX had a serious design flaw. I saw that the horizontal stabilizer was repeatedly moving at a high rate because of a faulty angle of attack input. I guessed that a software error was responsible. A few days later, I was shocked to discover that the airplane was purposely designed and certified to use just one AOA input for this flight critical function. When the House report was released in September of 2020, I finally understood why I hadn't known about MCAS. Boeing meeting minutes from June 2013 recorded the reason, saying, if we emphasize MCAS as a new function, there may be a greater certification and training impact. Boeing intentionally hid the design from FAA engineers and airline pilots. Had we known, at least a half dozen experienced FAA engineers in the Seattle office would have immediately rejected the original MCAS design. Boeing concealment led to 2 crashes and 346 deaths. After working on the recertification of the MAX after the second crash, I sent a letter to the parents of Sammy Stumo shortly before my retirement in March of 2021. I saw their anger and grief and wanted them to know the true story and not the false narrative presented by Boeing and FAA. Over the last 3 years, Sammy's parents have connected me with many other crash families. I frequently communicate with the devastated people who have lost loved ones in the ET-302 crash. I've heard many inspiring stories about those who were lost. Stories about Samia, Mick, Camille, Melvin, Bennett, Danielle, Graziella, and others. The recertification of the MAX has been characterized as the most comprehensive in the history of aviation. This is also a false narrative. During the recertification of the MAX, FAA leadership supported Boeing's effort to narrow the scope to primarily focus on MCAS. MCAS was a mess for sure, but other critical items were off the re-examination table. The MAX crew alerting system doesn't meet current design requirements, and by my count, the old standard
No young person should ever have to worry about having a safe place to sleep at night, or a warm meal to eat, or whether anyone cares about them.
I grew up in poverty, and I actually became physically homeless right after I turned 16.
I didn't have anywhere to sleep, and I didn't really have friends or family that could support me.
To be homeless as a teen, I didn't ask for that.
1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year, and that's unacceptable. But the good news is there is an organization making a big difference, Covenant House.
For the young people who didn't ask to be put in unthinkable situations, Covenant House is there providing safety, hope, and a brighter future. Call or go online now. For a gift of only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can provide hot meals, safe shelter, medical care, and love.
For over 50 years, Covenant House has been helping youth in crisis and giving them the support and tools they need to succeed in life.
Without the Covenant House, I honestly could not tell you where I would be today.
Call or go online right now to safeplacetosleep.org with your gift of just $19 a month. With your monthly donation, you'll receive this soft, comforting blanket as a reminder of the warmth and safety your gift will provide a young person tonight.
I would not be here today if it weren't for the kindness of strangers, people who donated to Covenant House so that they could support me when I couldn't support myself.
I have no words to express how Covenant House changed my life.
Your monthly gift is urgently needed to reach young people in communities like yours who didn't ask to be put in unthinkable situations.
Your support makes the work of Covenant House possible.
Call or go online to safeplacetosleep.org with your gift of just $19 a month.
Is deep-sea fish oil really healthy? Due to pollution in the oceans, most fish contain heavy metal elements and radioactive substances. That's why it's so important to choose a pure source of omega-3. Puritang green vegetable omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds, which are rich in nutrients and minerals, especially vitamins A, D, E, calcium, and iron. With natural processing and no harmful chemical additives, it has more than 90% concentration of omegas 3, 6, 7, and 9. It effectively improves brain power and is beneficial to the heart's health. Puritang omega-3 does not smell of fish and contains no pollutants, so both adults and children can safely and easily consume it over a long period of time. Puritang green vegetable omega-3, greener, healthier, and more effective. Visit puritang.com to learn more.
Want to know what's really happening around the world? Join us for a deep dive discussion with our expert panel on International Reporters Roundtable.
We've been watching a Senate panel probe into whistleblower allegations of major failings inside Boeing.
While the plane says its planes are safe, it's come increasingly under fire from multiple incidents, including the mid-flight door plug blowout of an Alaska Airlines plane in January.
We'll see more of the testimonies now.
Safety culture that will teeter on failure and provide a false sense of security. Let me be clear. When you try to increase productivity without the needed resources and being guided by poor management with only financial focus and the lack of assembly line inspectors, you are always borrowing from safety. You cannot have both. And case in point, this is where we see events like the door blowout with Alaska Airlines. NASA learned the hard way many decades ago, and other organizations, aerospace organizations, have as well, with their new plan to operate when they decided they were going to operate faster, better, and cheaper. And it failed horribly. They learned that you can only have two of the three, never all three at the same time, or accidents will happen. When we examine these four components of what constructs a safety culture, it appears that Boeing has none of them under control, and there is no evidence that this trend is in fact reversing. This was discussed at the Huntington Beach conference in February at 2023, which I attended, but there does not appear to be any evidence of such changes to any of the components on the horizon as a string of alarming events continue to unfold. In the safety engineering work, we call these precursors to accidents. And I have never in my decades of aerospace safety work seen so many continuing to arrive one after another. Where is the safety accountability all the way to the CEO where they discuss safety in addition to the money problems, all the way to the top? Some of these companies profess to practice, yet never seem to do that. All safety cultures, both those that have and profess to have a good safety culture and SMS programs, were developed by the FAA and provide guidance how to do that. At Boeing, is there safety accountability all the way to the top? This was discussed after the previous accidents, but where's the evidence for that? In closing, you would think that there would have been made clear after having been directly responsible for the two air carrier fatal accidents that at its core causation was 100% about money and about sneaking through the certification process and automation-related component that killed 346 people over money. And yet we still have no proof that these programs have even entered the lexicon of Boeing. Aircraft, despite the hollow comments to the contrary at the Huntington Beach Safety Conference. So it leaves me to wonder, have we even gone backwards at Boeing? The Alaska Airlines event strongly supports that. My final comment is I have always felt as an accident investigator for over 20 years, and I've always said that with these accidents, maybe the upper management should actually go to these accident scenes and witness what they look like, as the rest of us do. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Professor Brzezinski. I would be happy to talk to you after this hearing is done. If you, I want to spare you being removed and just tell you that we will be happy to take those documents and meet with you privately. And we welcome your being here. We also welcome the presence of Chris and Clarisse Moore, whose daughter Danielle died in the Ethiopia Airlines crash. They remind us that the seemingly abstract, even antiseptic setting of this hearing belies the fact that there are real people who perished in those two crashes. There are real people at risk getting on airlines right now. No reason to panic, but a reason for deep concern. And we thank everyone who may have documents or information to bring to our attention. We thank you. Professor Brzezinski, what keeps ringing in my ears is that phrase, 100% about money. My understanding about what happened here is that Boeing sought to produce more airplanes more quickly without the necessary testing, inspections, and then sought to conceal and cover up what it knew was happening. Is that aligned with your view of the facts here?
Absolutely. That in fact is part of it, because those things are expensive. And there's more to it. There's other things that go into that process. One of the biggest is the inspectors. Cutting back and getting rid of your inspector staff that looks at all the parts to make sure that these things are assembled correctly. We saw this with the accident, with the Alaska accident.
One of the lessons here is that shortchanging safety with shortcuts is short-sighted. I want to ask Mr. Salpour, for many of us who may not understand the technology or the mechanics here, my understanding of your testimony is that Boeing, in effect, fastened parts of the fuselage together using force rather than proper shimming, and thereby created a severe risk that use over time and fatigue of the parts and fasteners would create risks to safety. Is that roughly correct?
Yes, sir. I think they are using significant excessive force to squash the gaps before you measure it. If you squash in the gap before you measure it, you don't know what you're getting, because the purpose of that is to measure the gap in its free state. When you squash that with excessive force, basically you're getting false information. If you get the gap measured falsely, you are not going to shim it properly, and it's a danger to the airplane. It's very, very important. Boeing has put out reports that they say that they can lose almost 80% of the airplane life cycle if we don't follow these protocols, which it is the proper shimming, measuring the gap,
One remedy or one precaution would be proper testing. Has Boeing ever shown you conclusive testing results that would dispel your concerns?
No, sir. First of all, the testing that we're talking about, I have never seen it, any of the information. The second is the airplane is the king. The numbers that you get from the actual airplanes, regardless of what the testing done, that should be considered. And my data that I was using in my assessment is from the 29 airplane that it was inspected.
Mr. Pearson and Mr. Jacobson, you have very extensive experience with Boeing, as well as air safety. Do the allegations that Mr. Salapore has brought to our attention surprise you in light of your experience?
Well, I just want to say that I can't obviously technically, say that what he's saying is absolutely right. I just don't know that. But I will say that the problem that he's describing, where he's trying to get information and he's basically being told, basically shut up, don't worry about it. And, he's obviously making an effort, a long effort to try to get to the truth. And what should happen is somebody should say, here's the data, here's the information. He shouldn't have to wait until becoming a whistleblower to get that information.
Mr. Jacobson, you worked at the FAA for quite a while. Mr. Pearson and as well Mr. Salapore have been critical, as many of us have been, of the FAA. In fact, Mr. Pearson has brought to the attention of federal authorities information about the potential failings of those investigative steps by federal agencies. Do you think just assigning more inspectors to Boeing from the FAA is a sufficient solution?
Well, certainly having more inspectors is helpful in certain circumstances. I think in the Renton factory, having more inspectors, more of an on-site presence is very important. But the attitude needs to change. The attitude right now is Boeing dictates to the FAA, tells the FAA what they will do, what they will accept, and that needs to change. The FAA needs to be a regulator. They need to do their job, and that's the missing piece right now.
Would it be fair to say that the FAA has been too captive to Boeing?
They absolutely have been too captive to Boeing, and that is one of the big problems that I've seen. Even when we were trying to recertify the 737 MAX, Boeing would try and focus the attention on certain things like MCAS to the exclusion of other parts of the airplane or the design or the manufacturing that needed to be investigated, and Boeing and the FAA went along with that at high levels. They went along with that, the redirect from the Boeing company.
Mr. Salapore, I showed you earlier a photograph of a tire wheel from your car. That bolt was inserted by someone as a threat, perhaps as a risk to you.
Yes, I was losing just air on my tire, and I bring it somewhere, and they say, hey, you have a nail in the tire. That's about 1 month old tire. So I brought it back to the shop that they fixed it, and they fixed it. I went to pick it up, and the gentleman told me that, this nail was not picked up through normal driving. I didn't know anything about that. He's the one who brought it to my attention. And I came home, and I had to go all the way back there to get the tire, to just save the tire. It was like 25-mile drive. But anyway, but the bottom line is that, yes, the nail was inserted in there. I believe it happened at work. I have no proof of that.
You mentioned also a threat to your physical safety, someone saying they would
Yes,
have killed you if they
someone
heard.
told me they're going to kill. They would have killed someone like me if you said something, what you said. So
The FAA issued an absolutely scathing report about Boeing, and Boeing has said that it's developing an action plan. I'd like to ask you, Mr. Pearson, should we rely on Boeing to, in effect, develop its own action plan, evaluate itself, and go on about its business? Or do we need continuing investigation?
We absolutely need continuing investigation. And honestly, I'm so tired of hearing about plans. We need action. And you can plan all day long, but if you don't actually carry through with it, it doesn't matter.
You'd like to see action?
Yes, sir.
I think that's one of the common themes here. We need action, not just more talk. I'm going to yield at this point. We're observing a 7-minute round, and we're going to try to stick to it. Senator Johnson.
So let me point out, I think the 800-pound gorilla in the room is the tremendous pressure society-wide to keep these planes flying. I mean, if we were to literally ground stop 737s, what would happen to our economy? That's why we don't even like contemplating that reality. But I want to start focusing on the 737 because that's the one issue. You got the 787, then you have the subcontractors, from my standpoint, the three, and then the overall culture of Boeing. But there's a discrepancy between our two witnesses here. Mr. Pearson, you were saying that it was a manufacturing defect, and Mr. Jacobson, you're focusing on the MCAS, which is what the public was all told. It was that control system, and with only a single indicator that if that went defective. So again, that was the story told. What is the truth? I mean, we'll start with you, Mr. Jacobson.
Well, the truth is it's more than one thing, right? It's the entire system. You have to look at manufacturing. You have to look at also at the design. Since the MAX has gone back into service, this is the list of manufacturing. These are unsafe conditions that are identified by the FAA in the manufacturing area. Engine anti-ice, exhaust duct fasteners, compromised seal and adhesion within the center fuel tank, loose bolts in the rudder assembly, stuck rudder pedals, misinstalled electrical wire bundles in the wing spoilers, and then, of course, the door blowout was also a manufacturing defect.
Before we head to break, if you have any feedback, please email us at news.today@ntd.com.
Stay with us. We'll have more stories in just a moment.
I have never seen a production any better than this anywhere.
Breathtaking. It is absolutely stunning.
I feel better about the world. I feel uplifted.
Invigorating. It was encouraging, gave me hope.
This has just been therapy for the soul.
It's a must-see. Must-see.
Make sure you see it. Make sure you see it.
Coming to Lincoln Center, NJ Pack, State Theater, Purchase, and Stamford. Genuine.com.
As we naturally age, many people are getting zero amount of this incredible and unique substance. That's when we start seeing an impact in our joints, skin, nails, and even our digestion.
People ask me, Dr. X, what is the #1 supplement I should be taking? My answer is multi-collagen protein.
People's reactions to me, people were like, what are you doing? What is going on? You look amazing. You have a glow about you.
What makes Ancient Nutrition Multi-Collagen stand out from other brands? 10 types of collagen. It's grass-fed, pasture-raised with vitamin C and probiotics. It's proven to reduce joint discomfort rapidly, continuously, and persistently. It improves the appearance of crow's feet after 4 weeks and improves skin tone after 8 weeks. And it promotes hair thickness, growth, and a reduction in hair breakage.
It has transformed everything from my hair. Like, my hair was starting to kind of just, come out, and I don't have that anymore. My skin feels amazing.
Call the number on your screen and find out how to get a free bottle when you order, plus free shipping and our 30-day money-back guarantee. And as a bonus, we will include Dr. Josh Axe and Jordan Rubin's revolutionary book, Multi-Collagen Makeover, free with your order, plus free shipping and free returns.
I have implicit trust in Dr. Axe because the plan worked. I'm living proof of it.
This is the collagen protein that is backed by clinical studies. It's what my family uses, it's what I use, and I know you're gonna benefit in a big way as well.
Love the results or get your money back. This special TV offer is not available in stores. Call the number on your screen or go online now.
Losing the fear of looking foolish comes with age.
Who did you steal them from?
Losing your way in your own home doesn't. Confusion with time and place may be a sign of Alzheimer's.
Mom, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine.
Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's.
Senate is set to try Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas very soon. But will the case be dismissed? NTD's Luis Martinez has the latest in D.C.
7 jurors were selected on the second day of former President Trump's so-called hush money trial. We have some key takeaways and what to expect next.
It's an election year, and the race to gain support from voters costs a lot of money. We take a look at Democrat and Republican cash levels following a recent FEC filing.
Foreign ministers from the UK and Germany visit Israel as the Jewish state weighs its response to Iran's attack. We have more on the conflicts in the Middle East.
The House hearing is highlighting the political warfare waged by the Chinese Communist Party. Hear more from experts who are testifying.
A new exhibition in Milan reunites 8 surviving panels of a Renaissance altarpiece. It's the first time they've come together in over 450 years.
This is NTD News Today, live from our NTD Global Headquarters. Here are Stephania Cox and Chris Beers.
The Senate is about to turn into an impeachment court. The House sent articles of impeachment against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas yesterday. Now, the trial is about to begin.
Our correspondent Luis Martinez is on Capitol Hill. Luis, what can we expect to see in the Senate today?
Yes, well, as you just mentioned, today the Senate turns into an impeachment court. As per Senate rules, at 1 p.m., the day after articles of impeachment are delivered to the Senate floor, senators convene, are sworn in as jurors, and usually the Vice President of the United States, who is the President of the Senate, presides over an impeachment trial. But in this case, Vice President Kamala Harris has refused to participate, and instead we will see Senator Patty Murray, Democrat from Washington, preside as President pro tempore of the Senate over impeachment proceedings. Now, it is expected that Democrats would quickly move to dismiss or table articles of impeachment. Senator Mark Kelly from Arizona said so this morning. Let's listen to what the Democrat from Arizona had to say.
It was just a political exercise. And Republicans, even in the United States Senate, they get this. A lot of my Republican colleagues, they want to get through this quickly, set this aside, and then get back to solving the real problems that our country faces.
There, Senator Mark Kelly is referring to the only 3 Senate Republicans who have not openly voiced or requested a full trial in the Senate floor. Those are Senators Mitt Romney, Susan Collins, and Lisa Murkowski. But it is also important to note that there's 3 Democratic senators who have been non-committal on supporting a motion to dismiss articles of impeachment. These are Senators John Tester, Cortez Mastos, and Tammy Baldwin, all 3 who go for re-election in November. Now, let's listen to what Senate Republicans, 43 Senate Republicans, including Senator Mike Lee from Utah, have to say about requesting a full impeachment trial on the Senate floor.
There can be no doubt but that a case for impeachment can be made and has been made here, and that we must convene a trial to find these facts and reach an ultimate verdict as to guilt or innocence.
So it remains to be seen whether Democrats will allow for House impeachment managers to present their case against Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas, or they will move quickly to dismiss or table articles of impeachment. Steph, Chris.
Luis, is that common to have the Senate consider dismissing an impeachment trial so quickly? Is this business as usual in the Senate?
No, absolutely not. Just to give you some context on impeachment proceedings, there have been 22 times have House impeachment managers delivered articles of impeachment in the Senate floor, and only on 4 occasions has the Senate not conducted a full trial. On 3 occasions, it was federal judges that had been impeached by the House, and by the time the articles of impeachment reached the Senate floor, these judges had either died, resigned, or were no longer in office. And the fourth case where the Senate had not conducted a full trial. It was a senator who had been impeached by the House of Representatives, and the Senate decided it did not have the jurisdiction. Instead, they expelled this senator. So if Senate Democrats decide to table or dismiss articles of impeachment against Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas, it would be the first time in history that the Senate does not fulfill their duty, with, of course, these four exceptions that I just mentioned. Dangerous precedent to be set. We will see at 1 p.m. after senators are sworn in what will happen and whether the Senate will be allowed to have a full trial or they will table or dismiss articles of impeachment.
Luis Martinez on Capitol Hill, thank you.
All right, the judge in former President Trump's so-called hush money trial said opening statements could begin as soon as next Monday.
7 jurors were seated on day 2 of this historic trial in Manhattan on Tuesday.
The 7 include an oncology nurse, a corporate lawyer, and an English teacher.
Before they were seated, jurors went through the questionnaire phase by the district attorney's office and Trump's lawyers.
An attorney for the former president challenged several prospective jurors, calling for some to be dismissed due to past social media posts.
Both the prosecution and defense have 10 peremptory strikes to remove a juror from the pool. So far, each side has used 6 peremptory strikes, so both have only 4 strikes left.
Court will not be in session today. The next group of 96 potential jurors was sworn in on Tuesday and dismissed until tomorrow morning.
As former President Trump's hush money trial takes a 1-day break, Trump is scheduled to meet with Polish President Andrzej Duda in New York. An anonymous source confirmed the meeting with the AP.
Duda was in New York for meetings at the United Nations. He has long expressed admiration for Trump, and they had good relations when both were president.
The meeting comes as European leaders prepare for the possibility that Trump might win the November election and return to the White House.
The Russia-Ukraine war is likely on the agenda. Poland is a NATO ally and shares a border with Ukraine. Duda is a staunch supporter of Ukraine and has encouraged the U.S. to provide more aid to the nation at war.
Trump has spoken out against such funding, but last week said he may support new money in the form of a loan.
New first quarter filings with the Federal Election Commission show Democrats with a big cash advantage. In the presidential contest, President Biden's team raised over $90 million in March alone, and including PACs and other resources, had over $190 million in cash at the end of the month. Former President Trump raised about $65 million and had about $93 million in cash at the end of March.
Democrats also have more cash for Senate races. The Senate Leadership Fund supporting the GOP raised $26 million in the first quarter. It has about $60 million in cash.
But the Democrat-associated Senate Majority PAC brought in almost $39 million with $92 million in cash on hand.
Democrats, though, have a tougher road to keep control of the Senate. They will have to defend 23 seats, while the GOP needs to hold just 11.
Coming up, a Civil War-era abortion law continues to grab headlines. Arizona Democrats want to repeal it, but they'll need Republican votes to succeed. We have that and more.
And the mayor of Los Angeles wants wealthy residents to help fund the city's homelessness efforts. The mayor says the city is working to move past nightly room rentals.
And how much does fraud cost the U.S. government each year? A new report says taxpayers are paying a hefty sum. Details on that and more after the break.
Hi, I'm Susan Lucci. I never thought about heart disease until I had my own heart event. I had heard many times that heart disease is the #1 killer. It went in one ear and out the other, frankly. I never had a health issue. I felt this slight pressure on my chest, just slight. But a few days later, while shopping at a boutique, that pressure returned, much stronger. By the time I got to the ER, the doctor decided to give me a CAT scan. He said, "I don't think you understand. You are on the verge of a heart attack." I had a 90% blockage in my main artery and a 75% blockage in the adjacent artery. I received 2 stents in my arteries, stents developed through research funded by the American Heart Association. Those stents saved my life. That's why I'm in front of you today. asking you to join me in supporting the American Heart Association by becoming a monthly donor. Call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, your support now can help save your life or the life of someone you love. With you by our side, together we'll keep fighting this battle. Give $19 a month with your credit card, and we'll send you this special t-shirt that you can wear to show that you are helping save lives. I'm so grateful to the American Heart Association. Their research helped save my life. Put yourself on your to-do list. It could be the most important thing you ever do. Please, listen to your heart. The only reason I'm here today is because I did. So please call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org now. Join me as a monthly donor today and help save even more lives. Thank you.
Lord Heavenly Father, I pray to you today to guide us tomorrow. Give us strength as we face death. Help us not to be afraid, as we know that we are going to be coming to your kingdom.
Just a while ago, the FAA issued a ground stop advisory for Alaska Airlines, halting all mainline and subcarrier flights. The advisory doesn't apply to SkyWest flights.
The FAA didn't specify the reason for the ground stop, but Alaska Airlines cited an IT issue related to a system upgrade for weight and balance calculations.
The airline is working to resolve the problem. Flight disruptions are expected to persist until at least late today.
We have some updates on the conflicts in the Middle East. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met with the foreign ministers of Germany and the UK in Jerusalem earlier today. Here's Netanyahu.
I thank our friends for their support in the defense of Israel, and I say this, both support in words and support in actions. They also have all kinds of suggestions and advice. I appreciate it, but I want to make it clear, we will make our own decisions, and the state of Israel will do everything necessary to defend itself.
During the meeting, German and UK foreign ministers both urged restraint. World leaders are urging Israel not to retaliate after Iran launched an aerial attack over the weekend.
UK Foreign Secretary David Cameron stressed the need to refocus discussions on the Israel-Hamas war back to hostages and humanitarian aid. He also called for G7 sanctions on Iran.
And back in the U.S., the Biden administration said it will also impose sanctions on Iran. It said the new sanctions will target Iran's missile and drone program and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard in the coming days.
This came as the House passed its second batch of measures to combat the Iranian threat. It includes 8 bills and 2 resolutions.
And changing track, joining us now is Don Ma, host of NTD's Business Matters, to give us the latest updates from the tech and business world. Don, good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
Yeah, it was good to see you on your show yesterday, Don. What do you have for us?
Yeah, so thanks for coming on yesterday's show. Now I'm returning the favor to you guys. So I wanted to talk to you guys about sanctions today because U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen yesterday warned of this. So what she was talking about is that the U.S. intends to hit Iran with new sanctions in the coming days. And of course, that's over its unprecedented attack on Israel, and these actions could seek to sort of reduce Iran's capacity to export oil. So let me read you guys a quote here. So Yellen says that I fully expect that we will take additional sanctions action against Iran in the coming days. So the Treasury and the State Department previously have taken action to try to contain Iran's destabilizing behavior, which was by diminishing its ability to export oil. Now, according to Yellen, the Treasury has targeted more than 500 individuals and entities connected to terrorism and terrorist financing by the Iranian regime and its proxies. This was since the start of the Biden administration in January 2021. So a Biden administration official also said, and I'll mention this to you guys, that a jump in oil prices have been driven mainly by geopolitical uncertainty and not of U.S. sanctions here, noting that past sanctions have not led to oil price increases. This is according to the official.
Now, what's the scope of existing U.S. sanctions on Iran, and what more can the U.S. do?
Yeah, I mean, Washington's sanctions on Iran is already pretty extensive. So what more can they do? Sanctions on Iran already ban all U.S. trade with the country. That's including blocking Tehran's assets in the U.S. and prohibiting U.S. foreign assistance and arms sales, according to the Congressional Research Service, or CRS. So thousands of people and companies, both Iranian and others, have been targeted under the sanctions program. The sanctions on Iran are arguably, as I said, the most extensive and comprehensive ones that the U.S. maintains on any country, for that matter. So that's also according to the CRS. So to answer your question as for what more can the U.S. do, right? That could include targeting the flow of Iranian oil and playing a more aggressive game of whack-a-mole, if you will, to go after Iran's front companies and financiers. So one of the most significant moves would be for Washington to actually get allies, for example, European Union and other Western countries, to impose multilateral sanctions on Iran.
All right, Don Ma, thank you.
Thank you.
Leaders from Columbia University are testifying before Congress on the school's response to anti-Semitism on campus. The university president said she is committed to confronting anti-Semitism.
I've held on to 4 principles. First, safety is paramount, and we would do whatever is necessary to ensure the safety of our campus. Because of those efforts, the vast majority of our demonstrations have been peaceful. Second, we would demonstrate care and compassion equally to everyone. Third, we must uphold freedom of speech because it's essential to our academic mission, but we cannot and shouldn't tolerate abuse of this privilege to harass and discriminate. And fourth, the ultimate answer to anti-Semitism and all its forms is education.
She was originally asked to testify at the House Education Committee hearing in December, but she declined, citing scheduling conflicts. That hearing led to the resignations of 2 Ivy League presidents.
And just this morning, pro-Palestinian student protesters gathered on Columbia's campus. The protest fell outside the hours designated under new rules Columbia adopted in February.
During today's hearing, committee chairwoman Virginia Fox appeared with Jewish students from Columbia who said they have faced threats and physical confrontation.
Congresswoman Elise Stefanik said Republicans would hold Columbia accountable for failing to protect students. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed a new bill into law yesterday affecting how objections to books in school districts are handled.
People with no kids in a district can now only raise 1 objection per month. Parents with children in the district can still file unlimited objections. The law aims to deal with issues from a 2022 law allowing objections to books in schools. School staff have faced challenges as objections flood school districts. The governor's office says the new law aims to protect schools from activists trying to politicize the book review process. DeSantis says Florida's focus on core academic subjects and rejecting indoctrination in the classroom has made it a standard bearer for educational excellence. An Ohio judge yesterday temporarily blocked a law banning cross-sex surgeries and puberty blockers for minors. The lower court judge said the 2 minors and their families challenging the law would be permanently harmed if it takes effect on April 24th.
The order will remain in place for 2 weeks or until a hearing on the family's motion for a longer-term order blocking the law. The Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost says he is confident the law will be upheld.
Ohio is one of at least 22 states that have passed laws restricting cross-sex procedures for minors.
Tuesday's ruling comes a day after the U.S. Supreme Court allowed Idaho to enforce its ban, while it appeals a lower court order blocking it. An update on the crash that killed an aide to a Nevada senator. Officials now say that a suspect allegedly involved in the crash is an illegal immigrant. Earlier this month, Kurt Engelhart was killed in a crash involving two cars. Police arrested the 18-year-old driver of the other vehicle shortly after the incident. The Reno Gazette-Journal now reports that he was placed under an ICE immigration detainer. The suspect was initially charged with a felony hit and run. That charge has now been changed to failing to stop at the scene of an accident. He's currently being held on a $100,000 bail.
In Arizona, House Democrats are seeking to repeal an 1864 ban on abortion that is poised to become state law again. But they will need the help of some Republicans to succeed. A state Supreme Court ruling on April 9th revived a ban on nearly all abortions. The law imposes a sentence of 2 to 5 years for anyone found guilty of inducing an abortion, except to save the life of the mother. It would take effect within 60 days.
Democrats sought to repeal the ban a week ago, but were thwarted by the narrow Republican majority. They say they will try again in Wednesday's session.
They would need at least 2 Republicans to join them to succeed. If the repeal passes in the House, Democrats also would need help in the Senate, where Republicans hold a similar edge. And a federal appeals court has ruled that North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper's COVID pandemic regulations were unconstitutional. The measures closed standalone bars while allowing restaurants with bars to remain open. The judges rejected the governor's argument that the measures were supported by science and data. In the early days of the pandemic, Governor Cooper issued an executive order closing all bars. He later issued another order that allowed only bars inside restaurants to open. A group of bar owners argued the governor's order infringed on their constitutional rights to make a living and for equal treatment. But a trial judge ruled against the Association of Bar Owners. In the appeal court's unanimous opinion yesterday, Judge April Wood wrote the governor's decision was illogical, as well as arbitrary and capricious. And Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass asks rich residents of Los Angeles to provide funding for homeless housing as part of her initiative to combat homelessness.
So right now we're working to move past nightly room rentals, including by master leasing and purchasing motels and hotels and already built permanent housing. Now we are asking the most fortunate Angelenos to participate in this effort with personal, private sector, and philanthropic funds to help us acquire more properties, lower the cost of capital, and speed up housing.
Bass made the comments during her State of the City address. She wants the funds for the LA for LA homeless campaign.
The Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority says more than 75,000 people were considered homeless in LA County in 2023. That's a 9% increase from the previous year. And in the city of Los Angeles, over 46,000 people are homeless, a 10% increase from a year earlier.
Last week, the Los Angeles City Council expressed willingness to pay a firm over $2 million to audit the city's homelessness programs. That's at a federal judge's request.
A Russia-linked hacking group is suspected of carrying out a cyber attack on a Texas water facility in January. That's according to U.S. cybersecurity firm Mandiant. The hack caused the water tank to overflow for about 45 minutes in the small town of Muleshoe.
Officials eventually took the machine offline and switched to manual operations. The attack also coincided with 2 other North Texas towns detecting suspicious cyber activity on their networks. The string of incidents did not affect drinking water in the towns.
Experts from Mandiant say those who claimed responsibility have been linked to previous hacking activity carried out by a notorious unit of Russia's military intelligence agency.
If confirmed, this would mark an escalation of Russia targeting U.S. critical infrastructure. Last month, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan urged state officials and water authorities to shore up their cyber defenses. And a new report estimates the United States fraud losses exceed $233 billion annually. The rough federal estimate was released Tuesday in a report by the Government Accountability Office, or GAO. It showed the U.S. government may lose between $233 billion and $521 billion to fraud each year. The first of its kind analysis was based on spending between 2018 and 2022. It follows a week after the White House endorsed new legislation to crack down on fraud, including identity theft. GAO did not pinpoint fraud in specific federal programs. The organization cautioned its new figure is incomplete and imprecise due to a lack of reliable data.
Ford is recalling more than 450,000 compact SUVs and pickup trucks in the U.S. A battery issue in the recalled vehicles might cause them to lose drive power. The models affected: Ford Bronco Sport SUVs made between 2021 and 2024, and the Ford Maverick pickups made between 2023 to 2024. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration said Ford discovered an undetected low battery charge could lead to a loss of hazard lights or cause a loss of drive power, increasing the risk of a crash. Dealerships will fix the issue for free. Notifications will be mailed by May 13th.
Google is cracking down on third-party apps that block YouTube ads. The international technology company announced viewers who are using third-party apps may experience buffering issues. Users may also see an error message saying the following content is not available on this app when trying to watch. Google noted purchasing a YouTube Premium may be the only way to escape ads. The tech company started ramping up enforcement on ad blockers last year when it started restricting YouTube video playback for people using ad blocking software.
A new report reveals many Americans with student loans are being forced to pause major life events. That's according to the latest Gallup Lumina Foundation Cost of College report. It found 71% of student loan borrowers delayed milestones, including buying a house, buying cars, moving out of their parents' house, or getting married. 1 in 3 U.S. students currently enrolled in college or post-high school programs said they have considered stopping their coursework in the past 6 months. 31% blamed the cost. Other reasons to possibly stop coursework include emotional stress and personal mental health reasons. Critics of the Biden administration's student loan forgiveness plans say wiping out the debt doesn't fix the root cause. To date, the White House has forgiven $153 billion in federal student loan debt for millions of borrowers. And many Americans might like to move, but they're essentially stuck in their homes, unable to upgrade, downsize, or relocate for new jobs or better pay. All because their existing mortgage rate is too low to give up. The average is about 4%, while today mortgage rates for new home loans far surpass that, holding steady at about 7%. It's paralyzed homeowners and created a nationwide lock-in effect for the housing market. And according to Federal Housing Finance Agency, it's responsible for about 1.3 million fewer home sales in the U.S. from the spring of 2022 through the end of last year. How can homeowners protect their property from squatters? I spoke with Alexandra Alvarado, the Director of Marketing and Education at the American Apartment Owners Association, about why squatting has been gaining traction in the news recently. Alexandra Alvarado, thank you so much for joining us. This issue of squatting is not new. In fact, it's been around for millennia, I'm told by the attorney I spoke to recently. Why has it been making headlines in recent weeks and months?
I think we have actually been seeing an increase, although it's hard to say exactly what that increase is. But certainly we know we have more traffic to our squatter-related articles than ever before. And so I believe that it's coming really to a peak and it's getting media attention as well. And so it is an interesting story, but we have been seeing an increase in traffic, at least to our content about it, in the last especially year or so. And so it certainly, we believe, is increasing in just being more a common thing that we're seeing post-pandemic, potentially because of the increase in rent prices that have made it a bit more lucrative to be a squatter nowadays.
How is all this playing out for apartment owners in America?
Yeah, it's a scary thing. Absolutely. It's this sense of loss of control that a lot of them are feeling. And I think that's why we're seeing it so much in the media as well, because there is a sort of fear around it where you could have a rental property and do everything right and essentially get scammed, and you're trapped and you have to go through a court system that isn't necessarily the most expedient in a lot of places. And so the thought of having your property taken over really just goes against property rights and everything that landlords really have worked hard for.
All right, now how can property owners deal with squatters if they have them? I imagine there are people watching this who have this exact problem.
Yeah, I mean, prevention, honestly, is the best step to take. Unfortunately, once it is happening, depending on where you are, it is going to be difficult, and it is going to be a process that you're going to go through, just as you would a legal eviction, which can be very cumbersome and time consuming depending on the courts and how delayed they might be in certain areas. So once you're in it, it's going to be tough, but definitely preventing it is the best way. So having security cameras, having property managers, if you can't be there, visit the property every day that it's vacant, making sure that you have eyes on that property at all times is really going to make the biggest impact. Squatters know and they can see when a landlord is taking things seriously and they are really, doing everything by the book and they're preventing the issue, and they're not going to target those because it's going to be harder. So you want to make sure that you're not a target. And I think that's really where it starts. And then once, you do have a squatter issue, of course, find yourself a really good attorney who has experience in that to make sure that you're doing it as quickly as possible. Doing it yourself can be a lot harder in certain states that have more regulations around tenant rights. And so you want to make sure that you have an expert that can lead your way and get them out as quickly as possible. Every day they're in there is another dollar that you're not getting from rent. So it certainly is worth it, I think, to have an attorney.
All right, Alexandra Alvarado, thank you so much for your time. It's a pleasure speaking with you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
A Hawaiian landmark will soon be torn down. The Haiku Stairs, often called the Stairway to Heaven, were built during World War II. But they have been closed to the public since 1987.
But now the nearly 4,000 steps that twist through a mountain trail are going to be removed, according to a press release from the Honolulu city government, and it's all because tourists continue to illegally trespass.
A city council member says the trespassing poses a significant liability and expense for the city, and nearby neighbors have had to deal with the disruptions and disturbances.
It will take at least 6 months and cost $2.5 million to tear down the site, according to the mayor's office.
Coming up, a House hearing is highlighting the Chinese Communist Party's political warfare. Hear more from experts who are testifying.
A top Fauci advisor gets hit with a subpoena from Congress. His emails allegedly show he was evading federal law. We'll have the details soon when we return.
And the Dubai airport flooded as the United Arab Emirates battles the heaviest rainfall in its recent history. More on the deadly storms in just a moment here on NTD News Today.
What if you could whiten your teeth by simply brushing your teeth? Now you can with Smile Actives, the teeth whitening breakthrough that safely gets your teeth white and keeps them white every day, just by brushing your teeth.
I never thought that whitening my teeth could be so easy. I just put the gel on the brush, the toothpaste on it, brush, and I can see my white teeth.
Simply add Smile Actives to any toothpaste and our patented PolyClean technology activates into a powerful microfoam that penetrates into the enamel surface to safely lift and remove stains.
You need a simple way to whiten your teeth. Without strips, without trays, without going to the dentist. And it was about time that a product was developed that you would be able to do that with just brushing.
And now Smile Actives is even better with new Pro Whitening Gel with 33% greater whitening power, clinically shown to whiten teeth faster, up to 8 shades. 100% of users saw whiter teeth. On food stains, coffee and wine stains, even on veneers, crowns, and dentures.
I eat the blueberries, I drink the coffee, and I know that Smile Actives will keep my teeth white every day.
If you could use something so easy like Smile Actives to take yellow teeth to white teeth, why wouldn't you?
Why spend hundreds of dollars for whitening treatments at the dentist when now you can whiten your teeth with new Smile Actives Pro Whitening Gel every time you brush your teeth? Call or go to smileactives.com and for a limited time, get new Pro Whitening Gel for just $24.95. Order in the next 5 minutes and buy one, get one absolutely free for just $24.95. That's 2 for 1 and save 58%. We'll even include free shipping. Get your teeth whiter guaranteed or return it within 60 days for your money back.
I smile every day now.
The difference is literally night and day.
So now I'm always smiling, always choosing, because now my teeth are much whiter.
This offer is not available in stores, so call or click now before the special buy one, get one free offer goes away.
We're told in Genesis chapter 1:26 that God has made man in his image, and by his likeness has he made him.
In this free online course, Dr. Justin Jackson, a distinguished Hillsdale College professor, guides you through the Genesis story. When you sign up, you'll explore some of life's most important questions, gain a greater appreciation for how the Bible confronts pain and hardship with redemption and hope. Sign up for the Genesis story, free of charge at learnfromhillsdale.org.
You know you don't have to wear your PT gear anymore, right?
It's comfortable.
So how's civilian life treating you?
It's fine.
When I got out, I didn't want to admit that there was anything wrong because I felt like a failure. And then I realized, there's nothing to be ashamed of. So I started talking to someone. Maybe you are fine, but if you're not, it's okay.
Thank you.
If you or a veteran you know needs support, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach.
President Biden will propose a tariff hike on steel and aluminum imports from China today. The move is viewed as a strategic one to increase support among blue-collar voters for the 2024 election.
The president will ask the United States Trade Representative to consider tripling the existing tariff rate as part of a 4-year review. He's expected to announce the request during his visit to the United Steelworkers headquarters in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania today.
The current average tariff on steel and aluminum is 7.5%.
The White House says the tariff hikes will not affect inflation and are necessary for national security.
President Biden has reportedly come under pressure from labor unions to extend the tariffs on Chinese goods.
And TikTok has been given 24 hours to provide a risk assessment on its new app, TikTok Lite. The app launched this month in France and Spain. The European Commission said it's concerned about the app's potential impact on children and users' mental health. It wants more details on the risks and what the company is doing to mitigate them. The European Union industry chief issued the order. 2 months ago, he began investigating TikTok over possible violations of users' privacy and other concerns. TikTok says the new app is aimed at users over 18. And back in the U.S., the House Oversight Committee is holding a hearing on Chinese Communist Party, or CCP's, political warfare. Experts highlight how the CCP infiltrates the U.S. in various aspects.
Today, we're in a new Cold War. Our adversaries wield weapons far beyond the traditional military arsenal, instead harnessing the power of communication to distort and manipulate the very fabric of our society. The relaxation of our security posture concerning active measures conducted by adversaries like China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran has left American institutions, those of its allies, and the entire international order vulnerable to relentless and ongoing political influence campaigns.
Retired Brigadier General Robert Spalding said the CCP and its proxies are waging a global political war to influence human civilization, and that they're using the tools of statecraft, business, economics, trade, academia, and especially technology.
He highlighted how Chinese-owned apps like Temu and TikTok harvest user data, and how American academia is influenced by China economically.
Spalding argued that the U.S. must completely separate the institutions of the free world from CCP influence, or else the republic will slowly disintegrate, he said.
The hearing marks the beginning of the Oversight Committee's government-wide investigation into the CCP's warfare. Congress issued a subpoena to a top advisor to Dr. Anthony Fauci yesterday, this over emails showing he used his personal email account to dodge a federal transparency law. The emails revealed Dr. David Morin's communication with the president of EcoHealth Alliance about a federal grant from the National Institutes of Health for bat coronavirus research. In the emails, Morin said he preferred to use his Gmail, fearing scrutiny on his government email. Morins wrote, quote, "Just send to any of my addresses, and I will delete anything I don't want to see in the New York Times," end quote. The move raises concerns about transparency and legality. The subpoena demands Morins to submit documents, including communications with Dr. Anthony Fauci about EcoHealth and COVID-19 origins, by April 30th.
And now we have some short headlines from Germany, the Netherlands, and other countries around the world. The Netherlands today handing over 3 more F-16 fighter jets to a training facility in Romania. That's where Ukrainian pilots and ground staff are taught to fly and maintain the planes in battle.
The Netherlands has been one of the driving forces to supply Ukraine with F-16 jets. Denmark, the Netherlands, and the U.S. expect to deliver the first of dozens of F-16 jets to Ukraine this summer. This will come after establishing the pilot training program.
The country of Georgia today approved the first reading of a foreign agents bill. The law has provoked several days of protests. 11 people were arrested yesterday at a large demonstration outside Parliament.
The proposed law would require some organizations to register as being under foreign influence. That's if they receive more than 20% of their funding from abroad.
Opponents say this would make it harder for Georgia to join the European Union. They call it the Russian law because Moscow uses similar laws to stigmatize some independent news and organizations. Germany conducted a large-scale raid against an international human smuggling gang today. More than 1,000 police officers searched dozens of homes, stores, and offices. They detained 10 suspects, including 2 lawyers.
The suspects allegedly took advantage of special German immigration rules reserved for skilled foreign workers. That was to obtain residency permits for around 350 mostly Chinese nationals who don't meet the needed criteria. The suspects allegedly received hundreds of thousands of dollars in payment.
Greece's largest labor union is on strike today. The strikes halted ferries and public transport services in Athens and elsewhere. This left some hospitals running on emergency staff levels.
The union wants a return of collective bargaining rights. The rights were abolished more than a decade ago during a severe financial crisis. The country's economy has mostly recovered after years of crisis.
Record rainfall struck the United Arab Emirates yesterday. It brought the most substantial amount of rain ever recorded in the country in a 24-hour period. At least 20 people have died. The airline Emirates has suspended check-in for passengers departing Dubai.
Over 5 inches of rain fell yesterday, forcing flights to be diverted from the world's second busiest airport. On Tuesday, planes looked more like boats as they glided over the flooded tarmac.
Emirates says passengers already in transit to the airport can continue, but warned customers to expect delays. On Dubai's roads, the heavy downpour forced some drivers to abandon their vehicles and run to safety.
Dubai, like the rest of the UAE, does not have the infrastructure to handle so much water. The city gets an average of under 4 inches of rain per year.
Coming up, a new exhibition in Milan reunites 8 surviving panels of a Renaissance altarpiece. It's the first time they've come together in over 450 years.
A London restaurant shows that delicious food can be local and sustainable. A coveted Michelin award recognizes its efforts. More shortly here on NTD News Today.
And 100 days to go before the Paris 2024 Olympics kick off. But disgruntled locals say the games will mostly be an inconvenience. More in just a moment here on NTD News Today.
How'd it happen?
She showed up dead on arrival.
This never gets easier.
It does when you call CarShield before your car breaks down. Look at these prices. The camshaft, transmission, engine.
Don't people know? A plan through CarShield could protect up to 5,000 parts and systems.
You hate to see it.
An out-of-warranty car is going to break down eventually.
Right, which is why they need a plan through CarShield. Those expensive repair bills get paid and at the mechanic of their choice. They're notifying the family.
Poor guy. He doesn't even know what's coming.
Another victim of senselessly expensive repair bills. Can't save them all.
But we can keep trying. Didn't have to end this way. If he'd have just called Car Shield before his car broke down.
Exactly.
Protect yourself from the unprecedented rise in cost for parts and repairs. Call now to save money with your price lock guarantee. Call 800-429-5128.
I have never seen a production any better than this anywhere.
Breathtaking. It is absolutely stunning.
I feel better about the world. I feel uplifted.
Invigorating. It was encouraging. Gave me hope.
This has just been therapy for the soul.
It's a must-see. Must-see.
Make sure you see it. Make sure you see it.
Coming to Lincoln Center, NJ Pack, State Theater, Purchase, and Stamford. Genuine.com.
I was born into the wrong body, Mom. I was astounded by what they were teaching. Child Protective Services did show up at my house. Parents are fearful of losing custody of their children because they say the wrong thing. Risks?
No risks. We got everything covered, I assure you, Mrs. Connors.
They don't want anyone to know the truth.
I can't stay quiet about this anymore. It's destroyed my health.
We're pushed into silence.
Imagine a coffee that cares for your health. Expertly fermented with a 50 enzyme complex to enhance flavor and remove bitterness. Small batch roasted to a decadent medium dark, resulting in a brew that is gentle on digestion, low acid, and up to 90% less caffeine than regular coffee. Try America's first enzyme fermented coffee today.
I'm in the bedroom.
Okay.
Oh, shit. It's not here.
What?
The gun's not here.
What do you mean? Where is it?
Cameron, are you in there? Open the door. Cam, come on.
A new exhibition in Milan has reunited 8 surviving panels of a Renaissance altarpiece for the first time in over 450 years. The hope is that bringing these pieces together, it could lead to the discovery of other missing segments of the work. NTD's Andrew Thomas has the details.
This is St. Michael the Archangel, the masterpiece by early Italian Renaissance painter Piero della Francesca. On loan from the National Gallery in London, it's one of 8 surviving panels from a 15th century altarpiece. Originally, the work was 30 pieces.
In 1454, Piero della Francesca, the most illustrious son of Borgo San Sepolcro, was commissioned. He did not set to work immediately. He was busy working in Arezzo, Urbino, and Perugia, and it was only in 1468 that he started painting, and a year later he installed his work on the main altar of St. Agostino.
Museums have tried and failed in the past to assemble the remaining 8 panels, spread across 5 museums in Europe and the United States. The 4 major panels in the exhibition turned up in Milan in the 1800s. The Frick collection in New York came closest a decade ago, gathering 6.
It is magnificent for an exhibition to be able to bring together fragments and scattered pieces of what was once a whole. The monumentality, the solemnity of Piero della Francesca comes out. We wanted to understand how he had imagined this polyptych, which includes these saints from the main register, and the smaller compartments of the altar step, the pillars.
In the exhibition, 4 large panels of saints are staggered against a blue background. A blank wall represents where the missing central panel would have been. The piece has been missing for centuries, and no sketches or records of it exist. Poldi Pezzoli Museum will be home to the panels through June 24th. Curators are cautiously optimistic that the new exhibition could lead to the discovery of the missing pieces. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
A London restaurant is on a mission to prove that delicious food can be local. The British eatery has even won a coveted Michelin award for its efforts. NTD's Andrew Thomas has more on the menu.
The kitchen restaurant St. Bart's in London is humming as cooks prepare for lunch service. Here, sustainability sets this food apart. The Michelin star restaurant has exceptional food and a green star for using industry-leading sustainable practices.
Sustainability is, for me, about making sort of intelligent choices about the food that we use and the way in which we use it.
St. Bart's is the only Michelin-starred restaurant in London to also have a green Michelin star.
So a big thing for me is using UK produce. The fact that we can produce everything within the UK gives us a real opportunity to use all of that produce and therefore help sustain the British farming industry.
In the prep kitchen, lamb, beef, fish, and even cheese trimmings are fermented in jars and boxes. They'll eventually be used for sauces months from now.
It's about creating one dish out of the prime cuts, one dish out of the shoulder, using the shanks, curing some, making the trim into a garum, which then goes on to season later dishes down the line.
There's a strict British ingredients only policy. That means no olive oil, no lemons, and no exotic spices.
So during the winter is tough. We preserve, pickle a hell of a lot during the summer, which gives us a certain amount of kind of freshness to the dishes still.
Chocolate makes for a nice dessert, but the restaurant can't use it as an ingredient. So this is the eatery's chocolate not so chocolate tart.
This is probably my favourite just in terms of the techniques and methods in which we use to make it. So we don't use any coffee beans or cacao because nobody in the UK currently grows. So what we've done to mimic those flavours is that we use UK grown barley.
St. Bart's received its Michelin star in 2023 and its green star earlier this year. 31 British restaurants have received the award since it was launched in 2021. The Republic of Ireland has earned one green star as well for its sustainability efforts. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
With 100 days to go before the Paris 2024 Olympics kick off, some disgruntled locals say the games will mostly be an inconvenience. Organizers say they're confident the mood will improve as the games near. A poll last month showed just over a third of all French people felt enthusiastic about the global sporting event.
With 100 days to go, many Parisians say they'll avoid the game or leave the city if they can.
Excited? No, sorry, that's certainly not the right answer, but I'm not at all excited about the Olympics, even if it is still a great event for Paris and for France. But I have a lot of concerns about the organization, transportation.
I don't think that the city of Paris itself is ready. In fact, there are things that we should have planned for sooner, like I'm thinking of the Montparnasse Tower construction site. In fact, we were promised a lot of stuff. I even remember that we were promised that transportation would be free, and nothing has been done. So I don't think we're ready, no.
In addition to the inconvenience of the preparation work, some are afraid of the security risks.
France has raised its security alert to its highest level amid war in the Middle East, the one in Ukraine, and potential terrorist attacks. Every year, millions of drivers experience a car breakdown. For your health and safety, it's best to be prepared. Here's Gina Marie with Strong Mind and Body.
Vehicular breakdowns or accidents can happen to anyone, anywhere, at any time. Imagine getting stuck on an interstate with an 18-wheeler blocking your way, or how about a breakdown in a remote area? Here are 17 things you should keep in your car in case of an emergency. Number 1, a contact list. Keep a paper list of numbers you may need to call during emergencies, including AAA details and phone numbers of family and friends. Number 2, money. Keep a reasonable stash of money hidden in your vehicle. This can give you purchasing power when credit cards can't. Number 3, water. Keep a good supply of water bottles in your vehicle at all times. Number 4, snacks. A few packages of crackers, cookies, or trail mix are good to have on hand in case of an emergency. Number 5, spare glasses. It's possible your glasses can get lost or broken. Keeping extras in your car will help you to avoid visual difficulties. Number 6, first aid kit. A small first aid kit can help you to quickly and efficiently deal with minor cuts, scrapes, headaches, allergies, and nausea. Number 7, fire extinguisher. Many times a small fire can progress into a major one simply because nobody had a fire extinguisher. Number 8, adequate fuel. It's best to keep your fuel tank at least half full at all times in case of unexpected delays or detours. Number 9, signaling devices. If you break down, activate your emergency flashes immediately. Also consider electronic road flares or reflective triangles. Number 10, weather gear. Having some weather gear on hand can be a lifesaver. Aim for a good umbrella, a disposable rain poncho, and a hat. Number 11, flashlight. Keeping an emergency flashlight in the car can save the day. Number 12, emergency blanket. A good blanket can come to the rescue in cold weather, especially if you rely on the car's heater to keep you warm. Number 13, reflective safety vest. Put on a reflective safety vest immediately if you get out of the car after a breakdown. This will help other drivers to see you. And finally, number 14, utility items. Consider duct tape, a multi-tool, and jumper cables. Keep in mind, these items aren't intended for survival scenarios, but are to assist you or help others in the event of a breakdown. Stay safe and stay healthy.
A massive black hole has been spotted less than 2,000 light years away. That makes it the second closest known black hole to Earth. Astronomers discovered the so-called sleeping giant while combing through observations from the European Space Agency's Gaia Space Telescope.
They named it Gaia BH3. It has a mass nearly 33 times that of our Sun and is the largest known stellar black hole in the Milky Way galaxy.
The closest black hole is Gaia BH1, located about 1,500 light years away. Its mass is less than 10 times that of our Sun. And for round-the-clock original news coverage, be sure to visit us at ntd.com or download our NTD app.
And be sure to stick around for NTD Newsroom at 3 p.m. Eastern. We'll cover more stories from the U.S. and around the world.